All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I'm your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. How is everybody doing tonight? Happy Saturday, happy weekend. This is the first time I streamed on a weekend since before Christmas, right? But we are getting back into it. If you didn't check out last night's stream, it was rather interesting. We were talking about the attacks in New Orleans and Las Vegas. So definitely check that out. But something a little more lighthearted today. I'm sure that you guys have seen, if you don't know him by name, Parker GetAJob. You've definitely seen him either debating Charlie Kirk. You've seen him debating Ben Shapiro. You've seen him leading one of the Jubilee things where it's like 30 versus 1. And he's just one of these, he's a white dude for Harris. And he's one of these types that's like, okay, if I could just say all of the things really fast, then I win, right? And so I was actually not very familiar with Brad Polumbo. I'd seen him around, but I didn't know him that well. Seems to be he is an independent, leans to the right, voted for Chase Oliver this election. But Parker called him out as a Trump supporter and a Trump voter, and it sparked a little bit of ire with Mr. Polumbo, who was like, hey, that's not true. So he got him on the channel. They are going to have an interesting chat, and we are going to do that. But first, let's shout out our boy, Nick Luchetti, moderator to the stars. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party, brother. Very good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. We also got our boy King Nirvana. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So all right, let's dive into this. So obviously we've got Brad on the left here, and then Parker on the right. And so they show the clip. We'll just dive right in. As always, guys, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
Shouldn't you do a little bit more research with the size of the platform that you have before making those kinds of claims about people to hundreds of thousands of people at a time?
Yeah. So again, I was not super familiar with Brad. But from that intro, he's been, he's been on Fox News. He's been around. So looks like most of you are also not super familiar, but some of you are. So this will be our introduction.
All right, guys, today for a special episode of the Brad versus Everyone podcast, we're bringing on Parker GetAJob, one of the viral white dudes for Harris TikTok stars who recently made a video, frankly, lying about me. I call him out on this, and we discuss politics more broadly in this episode. Parker, thanks for coming on the show.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
So I want to start with what got us connected in the first place, which was you guys did this TikTok with a bunch of kind of center-left influencers where you talked about this kind of stick of like, oh, did I get too political? My bad. And then you made a political point of why politics is important to you.
Sorry, was I too political? My bad. I just want to be able to marry my girlfriend one day.
My bad. Did I get too political? I just want to make sure kids can go to school without fearing for their lives. Oh, was I too political? I'm sorry. I just don't want to have to be a girly girl.
Oh, was I too political? I don't want rapists to have access to nuclear weapons the same way I wouldn't want them to have access to a gun.
I did a reaction.
Dear Lord. Am I going too political? I just want to be able to do things that I can already do. And yeah, I think, Nick, that's most of us. Where like, oh, I've seen him around. I don't really know what's good with him, but you're going to get a full platter tonight. Yeah, so that was... Okay, yeah. I'm getting them confused in my mind because the other thing that I was going to cover today was either... Where am I? Either this or the other white dude for Harris that speaks really fast. Dean Withers, I think his name is, and he debated Andrew Wilson on TikTok and rage quit. So we got some stuff. Depending on how this goes, we might get our fill here and maybe switch over to that. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. But yeah, these white dudes for Harris are crashing out, not doing well.
I don't want rapists to have access to nuclear weapons the same way I wouldn't want them to have access to a gun.
I did a reaction to it on this show that people might remember if they're loyal viewers or listeners. And that actually went a little bit viral, got a couple million views. And then you responded to the portion of it about you. I want to roll the first bit of that
Nice. Okay. So yeah, if I like the demeanor that Brad has here, because I'm familiar with the debate bro style that Parker's bringing, and there is two ways to deal with that. You either lean into it and play that game, or you do what Brad does and just don't buy into it and just have the better ideas. But the difficult part about that is that it is a skill to be able to listen to people who are rattling things off very quickly. But number one, because it's happening quickly, but also because there's lots of things that they're saying, and so to remember everything and to respond to everything, that's part of the tactic. But he seems to be doing quite a good job.
For you to take a listen to right now.
Was I too political? I don't want a rapist to have access to nuclear weapons.
So I do find it very concerning that Trump was held liable for sexual abuse of E. Jean Carroll in civil court. I really do.
But you still voted for him.
Did you know that I actually didn't vote for Donald Trump? I actually
Womp, womp, womp.
voted for Chase Oliver.
Now, a Chase Oliver vote, depending on where you live. But that's neither here nor there. Not a Trump supporter.
Did you know that I actually didn't vote for Donald Trump? I actually voted for Chase Oliver, the Libertarian Party candidate. And you have over 1 million TikTok followers. You didn't think to Google or chatbot search even who did Brad Polumbo vote for before making that out and blasting it out to 500,000 people?
No, I do apologize for that. Like that's not something that I expected. I did expect that it was like a Trump supporter responding to that type of content. So
exactly, bro. At least he's upfront about it. Like, yeah, I don't know, I didn't care. I didn't even look into it. But like, the whole point is that you hear these things and you automatically think Trump supporter. That's the issue. But he's just like, yeah, oops, got that one wrong.
I appreciate you telling me that, because I didn't know that, and actually I did try to like search to see that, and it seemed like you had some content that was sort of Trump leaning. But it's good to hear that you didn't. Yeah, of course I should.
Yeah,
Trump leaning or right leaning, not the same thing.
TikTok.
Okay.
There's going to be various things that probably.
I checked this because I wanted to see, like, is this? I don't expect you to have watched my podcast or watch my YouTube content, but if
that is also one of the lines there that is a small thing but endears me to Brad. The self-awareness that, like, I mean, how many he's got over 160,000 subscribers, and he still doesn't have this air of, well, I said it online, so why don't you know about it? This idea of, well, I don't necessarily expect you to know everything, but simple Google search. Nick says, why do people trust cops with guns, but don't trust good law-abiding citizens with guns? I don't understand that. I know it's got to be something like people being ignorant on the topic. Yeah, and we were just talking about that in Discord, that, for myself, it's difficult to find like entry-level information on firearms and stuff, because I like, where do you start? Even, a lot of people, we were talking about the Desert Eagle from the Cybertruck guy yesterday, and Nick posted a Colin Noir video, and like, that helped for the context. But in terms of just learning about firearms, it's so difficult to find that online. And like, I put a thing on my community tab post, and everybody's like, oh, well, just go find somebody to talk to about it. Oh, okay. Like who? Like where? This is New Jersey. People don't just have guns. And like, they do. And someone's like, oh, go to the range and just ask around. Like, you realize that's like a 45-minute drive. So I'm going to drive 45 minutes to show up to a place where people may or may not be. And if they're there, they want to, spend their time using the range. And I'll be like, no, actually, can you be my coach? Like, that's not a real thing. And I was asking about online. And in the post, I specifically said, yeah, if you grow up somewhere where there's guns around, then it's probably more organic that you would learn about that. But I don't have that. But side tangent. But yeah, it is tough. And that's exactly why it is such an important thing to be readily available online. Because, yeah, maybe I would be willing to drive 45 minutes to learn about stuff. But not everybody would.
If you Google who did Brad Polumbo vote for, a tweet where I said I'm voting for Chase Oliver comes up as the third or fourth result, or at least it did for me. If you ask chatbot who did Brad Polumbo vote for, it says Brad Polumbo sat out the 2020 election and said he's not voting for Trump or Biden in 2024 and is considering voting for Chase Oliver. So I guess the question I have is, first, shouldn't you do a little bit more research with the size of the platform that you have before making those kinds of claims about people to hundreds of thousands of people at a time?
So sure, yeah, I would say that I have to do a bit more research when it comes to things like that, especially in terms of political candidates. Now, I did expect that you were supporting Trump because of the response that you made in specific about the cases, particularly.
Right. But again, brother, that is the issue. You know what happens when you assume.
Relating to the idea that like there's a distinction between a civil and a criminal court. I've never heard like a Chase Oliver fan argue that. And then secondly, we could.
So everybody that you've talked to about civil versus criminal liabilities, you've known who who they were voting for in this past election. This is why these young pundits on either side of the aisle, it's just like, okay, like, it's cute. I get that, I appreciate that, I wish I was as involved in politics at 21 or whatever the hell age he is. But like, dude, well, people who are, talk about civil versus liberal are usually Trump supporters. That doesn't mean that, like, that's not a thing.
Talk about like, well, like, I don't know why you would have voted for Chase Oliver. We can go through that because obviously they don't have like a chance of winning. And you clearly saw that through the election. But yeah, no, I will actually like literally take down my
called the protest vote, brother.
Video because I said that within the video. So I do actually appreciate you telling me that. And I actually really apologize for framing it that way because I did actually
that. And honestly,
wrongly.
I don't care that much. You don't need to take down the video. I just think so. I followed you closely. I followed Dean. I followed a couple of the other guys who, Harry, Chris, for a while, kind of white dudes for Kamala. And I'm not caricaturing you guys as that. You guys have like branded as that. And some of your videos, I think, you make interesting points against people like Charlie Kirk in debates. I actually think your point about the Electoral College being a form of DEI is very interesting and actually kind of made me think, though I've never been a big supporter of the Electoral College. I've always had kind of mixed feelings about it.
I'd be interested to hear that position. I mean, I could be convinced, but
But then it seems to me that you guys, the same way you kind of have the Charlie Kirks of the world who are Team Red.
The bizarro gay Dave Smith. I think that's a pretty high praise. That's a pretty high praise.
That you guys, the same way you kind of have the Charlie Kirks of the world who are Team Red and who just, no matter what Trump says or does, will defend it and will twist themselves into pretzels. Charlie Kirk started his career as a free trade advocate. Now he loves tariffs because Trump likes tariffs. It seems to me that you guys often engage in politics in kind of the opposite mirror way of this Team Blue NPC, where anything Kamala says.
Wait. So thinking about that again. So he's like, Charlie Kirk used to be this and used to be that. That's an oversimplification, obviously. But thinking about it, I think that was a tactic. I think that was hey, let me reach my hand across and try to find some common ground. I think, and again, I don't know Brad very well, but it seems like if you were to sit him down and be like, okay, so when you said that, you realize that there's a difference and you may not agree with this, that, or the other, but the position itself is a logical position, whether you agree with it or not. And I think he would say yes. I mean, again, I don't know, but that was my first thought. And then now I'm like, oh, maybe he's just saying that to, to gain some ground.
Away of this Team Blue NPC where anything Kamala says or does, you'll defend. Anything Trump is bad. And do you not see some kind of mirror or acknowledge that this partisan or tribal approach to politics is like you assume because somebody's disagreeing with certain criticisms you made of Trump, they must be a Trump supporter. The world's actually a lot more nuanced and complicated than that. And even somebody who loves Kamala and hates Trump might think a specific argument you're making is weak or wrong or bad. Do you see what I'm saying here about how this approach to politics is partisan and tribal? It's not nuanced.
No, I understand the point that you're making there. Now, that is totally my fault because in typical, I debate people every single day. I know what types of points typically bring about particular viewpoints. So it is.
No, you don't. You just think that you do. That's called bias. Now, there's a certain, there's definitely certain things that if you're going to say like, I don't know, that 2020, well, let's just keep it broad. If you say 2020 was stolen, then like, okay, you could probably assume that person is likely going to be a Trump supporter. But just saying things about civil cases versus criminal cases is not that kind of statement. Shout out to Bill Bradley. Welcome to the party. So the Electoral College is a check on more pure democracy in the executive branch, Let's try that again. The Electoral College is a check on more pure democracy in the executive branch, like the Senate does in the legislative branch. Talking about ending it is, in fact, an anti-American and foundational level. Anti-American at a foundational level. The founders feared centralized power, having just thrown out a king. They did not want strict democracy at the federal level. They were explicitly against it. Yeah, and that's why I'd be very interested to hear how like I understand how the pieces could be there, but what exactly is the argument that the Electoral College is DEI? Because it's not. But like I want to understand what that position is. But welcome to the party. We also got Dylan Soup. Welcome. Good to see you guys. Good to see you.
Debate people every single day. I know what types of points typically bring about particular viewpoints. So it is very likely that if someone is making that type of argument, that they are a Trump supporter. So I do, again, I was totally wrong, but I don't think that I need to like have 100% certainty that someone would be like a particular or have a particular view to like be able to.
You do if you make the claim. That's the point. Even if in the TikTok responding to Brad, and he was saying, I don't like this, that. And then, yeah, but you still won't rail against him. Like, okay, fine. That's a reasonable point. Again, I disagree with the conclusion there, but you make the claim. You made a claim that he voted for Trump, despite all the things that he didn't like. And that is calling him a hypocrite. And he's not.
Have 100% certainty that someone would be like a particular or have a particular view to like be able to establish like an argument from that perspective. Right, within conversations all the time, right? I might assume someone is coming from a particular perspective, given that they're arguing something, and they can just clarify in that type of conversation. That's not the view that they have. Now it's a lot.
Or I don't know, maybe you could just not make broad assumptions based on minute details. It's like it's not his responsibility to get things right, okay? Like, if I get something wrong, you just let me know. Like, what do you expect me to do, work and get things right the first time? Come on, man.
A lot easier in like live debates and conversations like that than it would be like on a video setting. So I do see you there, and I'm not really like as familiar with video content. I'm mainly like a debate person, like on lives. So like I haven't done that type of stuff. So I do apologize for portraying it that way. And I understand the perspective of, oh, you guys just say like whatever Kamala wants, or you agree with them 100%. And I would just like to clarify, I definitely don't agree with Kamala Harris 100%. And I'm actively like very critical of them on my.
On what? Like, well, I don't like how she teamed up with Liz Cheney because she's a Republican. Like, they always do that kind of stuff where it's like, can you actually have a good faith criticism from your side? And it's like, either you legitimately don't, in which case the point is legitimized, or you do, and you're just not willing to say it, in which case you're not good faith. And yeah, I mean, he's owning up to it, but I think he's doing it because he thinks that's a reasonable excuse. I think, oh, well, I didn't know any better. It's supposed to be, oh, okay, that's fine, Parker. As if there's no responsibility there. Oh, really quick, guys, I'm trying something new. So we put a different a swole goal, and it is one $50 super chat. So if one person can come through and save the day, that is the whole enchilada. So we'll see. I'm going to try this today and Monday. We'll see how it works. I know everybody likes to be the star sometimes, so you can be that one. Check out the swole goal. Where's it? Go. There we go. Check it out.
Definitely don't agree with Kamala Harris 100%, and I'm actively like very critical of them on my platform all the time, especially with people like Joe Biden. Like I was one of the people advocating for Joe Biden to step down prior to the vast sort of push by the media and everything like that for him to step down. So
you wanted the political coup. All right.
So like I'm not someone who's just going to follow the Democratic position in every single position, although it might seem like that because of just like the types of arguments that I would typically engage with.
Can you name a couple things that you think Trump is right about?
Come on, man. We can't put that on. We can't put that on Funk. We can do it without him. Bill Bradley said he's not even a debate person. He invites people to his own stream and then mutes them when they give substantive pushback. Yeah, that's the level of TikTok debate. That's just a normal thing on TikTok lives and stuff. So, as much as I, directly relevant to what we're talking about, as much as I will ride to the end of the earth that TikTok is the best social media platform, there's a lot of things I don't like about it, and the way that the lives are structured, specifically the debates, not ideal. So I would say, he is a debate person in the sense that he spends a lot of time trying to speak directly to people. But the muting thing is a huge handicap. And then his other friend was caught cheating on the in the debate, and he was like Googling things while they were working. It's like, come on, bro. Like, if you have to Google it, that's fine, but just don't pretend like you know things that you don't know.
Arguments that I would typically engage with.
Can you name a couple things that you think Trump is right about?
See, here again, he's gonna go with either COVID stuff. He's gonna go with like just obvious stuff that it's like, okay, yeah, everybody thinks that was good, but like the real way to answer this properly is to have a better, deeper answer. Is to actually talk about something that Trump actually did. Yeah, King, the blindfold debate, bro. Yeah, so like, this is only gonna go so deep. So it's an hour long. We'll see how much we get into it. But if it gets kind of repetitive, we could go and check that one out. But what was I saying? I forget. I lost it. Oh yeah. Talking about bringing up these points. And like, that's fair to be like, okay, yeah, I liked this thing that everybody else didn't like. But that's not really the point of the question. Is to, again, try to find the common ground. Let's try to find something about Trump that we both agree on. If you're just throwing out the things that all the Trump supporters don't like, well, I like that he had John Bolton around him. It's like, well, that's not really what we're doing here. And again, either it's that you don't understand what's being presented to you, an opportunity to find common ground, which can benefit both people in the discussion, or you just think it's another opportunity to dunk. Are lives on TikTok not limited on time like the regular videos? No, I don't think so. I don't think they're limited on time. I think you could just go and go and go. It might be something like, number. Actually, no, I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure a lot of the like, there's people who will do like art per se, and then like they'll set up their camera and like, let's just say this is my canvas, and it's a blank canvas, and I set that up, and they'll just spend the whole time painting. And so it's not like a live stream like this where we're super engaged, but it's something that people can watch. So I'm pretty sure there's no time limit, but it's definitely not the limited like the regular videos.
Yeah. So, for example, I think that Trump is right about the trans bathroom issue. Like, specifically, I saw you making tweets about that specifically, that like there shouldn't be like a reason to restrict trans people from going into the bathrooms in which they specifically have commitments or desires to be in accordance with in terms of identity.
That's not what he said. He said Caitlyn Jenner specifically could use the bathroom specifically in Trump Tower, but yeah.
So like, that's one thing. There's Operation Warp Speed. I think that the push for vaccines very fast was actually very good. I also agree that we need to increase like specific manufacturing in the United States, although I disagree with him on how he's going to get there. And then also
I that was not as bad. That was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. The first one was obvious, but okay, fair. King said, I hypothesized Parker just doesn't care. Based. The kids say based. I say based. I'm not the kids. Actually, King, the kids do not say based. The kids make fun of us for saying based. Nick said, I haven't even thought about that kind of thing. Thanks for the info. Yep, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying, guys. I did a poll on my community tab about why you don't want to be on TikTok. And whether, is it because, no. I asked, why do you think the government wants to shut down TikTok? Is it because of the CCP? Is it because of attention spans? Is it because of data mining, or something else? And a lot of people, the most common answer was the CCP getting our information. It's like, that's so dumb. Privacy has not been a real thing in 20 years. There's absolutely no information about you that exists that cannot be found already by anybody who wants to find it. By the fact that you are watching this, all the information that they need, they already have. They already have. It's already out there. Download TikTok. It's awesome.
Manufacturing in the United States, although I disagree with him on how he's going to get there. And then also, I agree with tax cuts for middle-class individuals.
Nick's saying they're being civil. Are we talking? You're talking about this or on TikTok? But with this, Brad is being civil. Brad is being civil. If it was up to Parker, it would not be this civil.
Those are just a few things. I keep
there. You go. I appreciate that. I'm somebody who looks at Trump, sees some of his ideas as bad, some of his ideas as good. Kamala,
you know, like most normal Trump supporters, mostly good, some bad.
Even Kamala, right? I could name a couple things. I think she's got some smart things that she campaigned on about housing policy, about decreasing regulations, increasing housing supply. I think when you have people who actually try to boil down the world to blue is 100% correct and red is 100% wrong, or vice versa, to me, that's always a sign that somebody's not thinking critically about the issues, because real life is complicated. There's a reason that these issues divide us, and it's not all black and white. Now, let's get into the rest of this video and maybe talk about the E. Jean Carroll case and the distinction between civil and criminal cases. Take a listen to the rest of your video that you made responding to me. But it's not the same thing as a criminal conviction. There's a much lower standard of proof.
So are you saying someone held civilly liable of forcefully penetrating a woman's vagina against her will, unanimously by a jury of 9 people when the decision didn't have to be unanimous, should be able to get access to a gun?
Yes. That's what human rights are.
9 people when the decision didn't have to be unanimous? Should be able to get access to a gun?
And what it has to do with nuclear weapons, I'm not really sure.
If you wouldn't trust them with arms like guns, why would you trust them with arms like nuclear weapons?
Another assumption there. As I just said, I in fact would trust him with both, but I absolutely would trust him with a gun. So, whoops.
Even a leader who did, let's say, commit a horrible crime against another person isn't going to necessarily start a nuclear war. Trump was already president once and didn't start any new wars.
Even if the person who was held civilly liable of forcibly penetrating a woman's vagina against her will didn't use a gun in any prior crimes or any prior violent occurrences, that doesn't mean that we wouldn't restrict their access to a gun. The same way that just because Donald Trump didn't use nuclear weapons in a negative connotation when he was president doesn't mean he wouldn't do so in this context, or that we would trust him with it. He also advocated for nuking hurricanes?
They're also propagandistic.
Oh my God. Like, if you think your point is strong enough, well, also nuking hurricanes? Like, it's so just like low brow. And it demonstrates that you don't believe in the strength of your arguments. You got to throw in little extra jabs. If that's really your concern about Trump, then say that that's your concern. But it's stupid, and he knows that.
Would trust him with it. He also advocated for nuking hurricanes?
They're also propagandistic and low information and manipulative and just reducing the complexity of our politics into these sound bites meant to scare people rather than inform or persuade them.
That's really funny, coming from the party of the press is the enemy of the people, stop the steal, terminate the Constitution, immigrants are poisoning the blood of this country and eating cats and dogs. Are you crazy?
So the bit at the end there, I have been very outspoken that I don't think the 2020 election was stolen. I'm not part of the Stop the Steal movement. I didn't ever claim there were dogs and cats in being eaten. I'm actually pretty pro legal immigration.
I'm pro illegal immigration or pro legal immigration?
Cats in being eaten. I'm actually pretty pro legal immigration.
One more time.
Claim there were dogs and cats in being eaten. I'm actually pretty pro legal immigration.
It sounds like he's saying legal. The captions say legal. I would assume he's saying legal. But again, what does that have to do with what we're talking about? Because the issue comes down to illegal immigration. Thank you, Nick. I try my best. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Ever claimed there were dogs and cats in being eaten. I'm actually pretty pro legal immigration. And I actually just did a segment on why I oppose mass deportation. So again, I would just kind of caution you to stop lumping people.
Can we see that one more time? Oh my God. Oh my God. Give me this right here. Give me this right here. Wow. This is the
why I oppose mass deportation. So again, I would just kind of caution.
Bro, your hair's not long enough to do that. What are you doing? What are you doing?
And I actually just did a segment on why I oppose mass deportation. So again, I would just kind of caution you to stop lumping people in or making assumptions about people because of one issue. They must hold the whole host of views that are associated with that side or that spectrum.
It's almost like a bias. Bill Bradley said, the press is the enemy of the people, which is why most people don't trust them. Lowest trust in the media since they started tracking. And it's not surprising at all. It's not surprising at all. And, you know, going back to TikTok, this is I think this is the biggest reason why they want to ban it, is because there is so much community on TikTok. It's odd how, you know, it's not necessarily a matter of, oh, I follow a lot of people who are like me, or a lot of people who are like me follow me. It's just that the people who are like me are going to naturally be interested in the same kinds of things as me. And so based on their scrolling habits, we're both going to end up seeing the same types of videos. And so even if I don't know you, I can have a conversation about other stuff than just this 10-second video that I'm commenting on, because I can assume that you've seen other types of stuff that I've seen. And that allows people, much like Twitter did in the early days, when we didn't realize that, you know, it's not just, oh, Rob95 had a Dr. Pepper and PB&J for lunch. That scene from what is that movie with Emma, what's her face? She's playing Easy A. Right, and there's a bunch of movies from the 2010s era when Twitter was new, and that's all people thought it was. And then fast forward today, and there's literal global international politics happening on Twitter. And the fact that, Emma Stone, thank you. And the fact that you know, this type of stuff is now happening on TikTok is, I think, a big reason why they don't like it. It's too easy to get information. Now, you definitely have to be, they definitely pick who they like and who they don't like and stuff like that. But because I got 5 different accounts banned. But you know, the people who are up there, it goes in, it goes deep. Shout out to Zippy, DSM Lee. Welcome. Said TikTok is like an open secret. We got to ban it because China takes the data, yet data brokers at all corporations sell data to China in the dark. Exactly. Bill said TikTok is the home of the mentally ill. They get rid of those mentally ill people. If they get rid of it, those mentally ill people will be let loose on all of their social media sites. Let them stay concentrated on TikTok. And again, that's just not what it is. So yes, because most people are on TikTok, there's a lot of mentally ill people. But people, if you personally haven't taken time to download TikTok and use the algorithm, then all you understand of TikTok is the viral crazy stuff that people post onto other platforms. So the very niche stuff that's obscure, that, you know, is really cool and you're really into, but is very specific to you, that's not going to be on Twitter. That's not going to be on YouTube. All you see is the bottom barrel shit, because that is the viral bullshit. And I say that because I was the same person who was like, oh, TikTok is so gay, it's just a bunch of da 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 da. And it's not that. It's not that. It's just, imagine if you only ever saw the worst YouTube videos ever. You'd probably think the same thing. Like if you only ever saw YouTube prank videos, you'd probably think YouTube's pretty gay too. But there's a lot more going on.
Host of views that are associated with that side or that spectrum.
So I wasn't doing that. What I was doing in that particular scenario was I was saying that, like, if you're going to say that, like, oh, all of this is just sort of low information, it's all of these people that are typically on this side that typically have that type of low information. What you were kind of doing in that circumstance was sort of lumping me in with the rest. So what I'm kind of doing is
No. He's lumping you in with other people who have said bullshit that they couldn't back up. Did you do that? Okay, then you belong to be lumped in with those people because you did that thing. Nick said, I'll happily give you credit for making me think about it enough that I downloaded ChatGPT. There you go. I appreciate you sharing your thought process and making me realize I need to start learning about AI. Yeah, and exactly. Even if you want to take the route of, well, that's not real AI. Well, all the more reason that it's not even real AI yet. And it's still something that you just don't understand. And we see the frustration with boomers themselves, and then our frustration having to deal with boomers who are unwilling to learn very basic things about email and stuff like that. Oh, I don't know how to do it. You do it better than I do. Blah, blah, blah. You're gonna be that person. You're going to be that person. And some of you can be like, oh, yeah, I don't really give a shit, and that's fine. But I want you to be aware that is the one. I think Grok is better for images, and that's it. I think images and the aspect of like free speech and getting getting truthful answers. Sometimes with ChatGPT, it does have that little woke bias, and sometimes it gets things wrong and stuff. But for sure, the Grok image creation is way better than ChatGPT. But let's dive back in here. Let's grab this. Bill said Parker is a low information person, which he has admitted by saying he made assumptions about Brad with little to no information. Yeah. And so now he's trying to say, no, well, because you've pointed this out, now you're lumping me in with everybody who likes Kamala. No, we're lumping you in with people who say things with little to no information.
Low information. What you were kind of doing in that circumstance was sort of lumping me in with the rest. So what I'm kind of doing is I'm showing that like you can't sort of do that in terms of the party.
Real quick, I did not adjust my audio. Okay. I didn't readjust anything from yesterday. I just wanted to make sure we were good.
Lumping me in with the rest. So what I'm kind of doing is I'm showing that like you can't sort of do that in terms of the party. Just lump everyone with that sort of side, if that made sense. But
rejection. The entire thing here is that you were the one who lumped Brad in and said, but you still voted for him when he didn't. You put him in a group that he wasn't in. You made a wrong statement. So he put you in the group of people who made wrong statements. And now you're saying, oh, well, you're just putting me in with all the blue. Like, that's not what's happening, bro.
I completely disagree with this framing because you didn't vote for Trump, right? Like I totally take back all of this framing as it relates to this because you didn't.
Oh, okay. You take it back. Oh, we're good now. We're good. He took it back, guys. He took it back. No problem. He took it back. Like, come on.
Vote for him. You don't have that type of obligatory stance. You don't have to say that you think that violent offenders should be able to get access to guns, like people who are relatively liable of sexual abuse. You can step away from that and you can be like, okay, I don't hold to those views. It would be unreasonable to say that. So like, actually, when it comes to all of that perspective, I don't think this argument is even targeted towards you. And I think it was honestly like, I agree in a certain sense, it was low information on specifically you. Like I didn't know much about you for me to assume that you specifically had those views when clearly you didn't hold that stance.
Right. But the position where you think it's reasonable to make that low information statement in the first place is the issue. You shouldn't have ever gotten there. And so like, yeah, okay, great. Points for apologizing, points for being like, oh yeah, my bad. But that doesn't erase it. Like, yeah, it would be worse if you tried to double down, but that doesn't make it good. Morty wants to come over here. Say hello to the overlord. And we do got our treats, guys. Of course, remember every donation comes with a treat for Morty. He's so hungry, he's trying to eat my hand, guys. Help an overlord out.
Right. So like, I do want to take that back.
Information and talking points. I was actually talking about the original viral video where you guys were just like, oh, my bad. Did I get too political? And then you would say a super simplistic talking point that was like 5 seconds. And I understand that's the nature of political content or like social media content, but yours wasn't that bad. Some of the other ones in that video were kind of ridiculous. Like
yeah, I want to real quick, just side quest. Boomer means old man state of mind. A baby boomer is somebody who was born and after all that. That is an organic development of the word boomer. When we have the okay boomer meme, boomer no longer solely refers to the baby boomer. It's just a description of you taking. It's like you being just crotchety for no reason, and specifically with technology. I mean, I think we could all be a little bit, but some people a little more than others.
Based that bad. Some of the other ones in that video were kind of ridiculous, like were based, and I don't remember them off the top of my head, but I did a step-by-step reaction. And a couple of them were things like that girl, the one whose last name is Cyrus, but isn't actually related to Miley Cyrus, said something about, about a gay marriage. I just want to be able to get married. But of course, one, I think it's pretty unlikely the Supreme Court will overturn gay marriage. Even if they did, there's the Respect for Marriage Act in place. And Trump says he's fine with gay marriage, doesn't necessarily want to repeal the Respect for Marriage Act. So some of the things in that video I thought were propagandistic. Yours, I just kind of disagreed with for the reasons I mentioned. I mean, is there not much of a difference to you between a civil liability claim and case and a criminal case?
So I would say that there is a distinction. The distinction in terms of standard of evidence within the context of a civil court would be preponderance of evidence versus in a criminal court.
Again, it's like, do you think that he was asking because he doesn't know the difference between criminal and civil? Or didn't you think that being like, oh yeah, I know the difference? You had to. It's just a very weird way to answer that. Shout out to Nick for the 199. Thank you so very much, sir. And of course, a treat for the Overlord. Thank you. The overloaded. He can get a little overloaded from time to time. Thank you, sir. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very much, sir.
In terms of standard of evidence within the context of a civil court would be preponderance of evidence versus in a criminal court, it's like beyond a reasonable doubt. So there's a distinction in terms of standard of evidence. I'm not disputing that.
But that's a huge distinction, though. You know that, right?
You could say it's a huge distinction, but the point I'm making is that it's not a huge distinction as it relates to the point that I'm bringing up, because I still don't think someone that has like a civil liability case against them for something like sexual abuse, domestic violence, or any other type of violent offense like that should be able to get access to guns.
But that's literally begging the question. You're literally begging the question because the conversation is about the threshold for conviction. So what we're talking about is whether or not the person did it. That is what we're talking about.
Sexual abuse, domestic violence, or any other type of violent offense like that should be able to get access to guns.
But
like I think we're serious about
states.
Yeah. Just because it's currently legal doesn't mean it's justified, right? You wouldn't say just because things are currently legal that means they should be that way.
Well,
I mean, true, but they are. As of like with that, it's illegal. It is legal and it is correct.
In general, no. In this case, I don't think a civil liability case is enough to deprive someone of fundamental rights, like the Second Amendment right to bear arms. Because when you say the case, the difference in the standard of evidence is beyond a reasonable doubt versus by a preponderance of the evidence. A preponderance of the evidence, which is the burden of proof in a civil liability case, only requires 51% certainty that they.
So real quick, put a 1 in the chat if you did not know that. So if you did not know that the preponderance of evidence is the standard they use in a civil case, which is as long as it's more than 50% that you did it, then that's good enough to say guilty. Whereas in the criminal cases, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt, which is is a much higher standard. I was trying to think before, like, is that it, or does he just? I think it's just the way he does his eyebrows. Like his eyebrows, if you look, I shave a little, but my eye ends here, and then my eyebrow goes a little bit further over. His eyebrow is done before he even. Where am I? His eyebrow is done before it even reaches the middle of his eye. So it's one or the other. I could be both. I don't know. But he is you just going hard, bro. You're just going hard. God damn.
Case only requires 51% certainty that they did the thing they're accused of doing. It is more likely than not. So a jury to find Donald Trump liable for sexual abuse in that case, which again, I really do find very concerning, only has to be 51% certain that he actually.
You're hitting on him. I get it now. Hey, shoot your shot, bro. Shoot your shot.
He did the thing that he's accused of to find him liable for it. Whereas in a criminal court case, beyond a reasonable doubt, you're talking more like 99% sure right? It's a very big difference in the burden of proof. And if you believe, like I do, that the Second Amendment rights are a constitutional right, that self-defense is a human right, you wouldn't want to deprive somebody of that with only 51% certainty. Now, if they've been criminally convicted and you're near certain they did the thing, that is different. But 51% certainty to deny someone their fundamental rights isn't something I would support. No.
So, like, specifically, like people held civilly liable of sexually abusing children, you'd be fine with them getting guns?
And so Brad does a good job here, but notice how the frame of the question is what the legal standard should be. And now he pivoted to what Brad personally wants, or Brad personally is would be fine with. Those are two different things. Those are two different things.
Specifically, like people held civilly liable of sexually abusing children, you'd be fine with them getting guns?
Well, fine with. I wouldn't want them to be legally denied that with such a low burden of proof. No.
So legally, people held civilly liable of sexually abusing children should be able to get guns?
Yes. 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 That's what rights are. Am I happy about people who, you know, could do terrible things, might have, like, it's not ideal. It's not ideal, but it's not a reason to stop people from having their rights. And Brad has an amazing analogy here, and really, really exposes Parker.
Yes,
like beating their wife and domestic violence.
Unless they're criminally convicted or they have a domestic violence restraining order.
Mm-hmm.
What about getting access to, say, being like a gym teacher or like a babysitter? Like, would you hire them for those positions?
Obviously not. That is not one of the rights in our Constitution.
Absolutely not. But there's no constitutional right to be a gym teacher.
You could say that there's not a constitutional right, but the point I'm saying is that
you could say it, and you'd be right, because it's a fact. It's an objective fact that there is no right. There's no human right to work around children. Zibby said, restraining order, no, too easy to get one. What did he, I think, now that you're saying that, he did say.
Sure,
or they
should be able to get guns?
Yes,
like beating their wife and domestic violence?
Unless they're criminally convicted or they have a domestic violence restraining order.
Yeah, I agree with you, Zippy. I missed that part. Good catch. I agree with you. I agree.
What about
now? I would be okay with if somebody has a restraining order against you, and then you assault with a deadly weapon or something. The fact that there is a restraining order in place, I would be fine with that being used to get a harsher sentence. But you have to commit the crime first. You have to commit the crime first. We don't go backwards with that. There's a huge distinction between a right and a privilege. These leftists really seem to struggle with that concept, as we will continue to see.
Getting access to, say, being like a gym teacher or like a babysitter, like, would you hire them for those positions?
Absolutely not. But there's no constitutional right to be a gym teacher.
You could say that there's not a constitutional right, but the point I'm saying is that it provides enough of a standard. Sure, but like it provides a standard of enough for you to believe it in a particular circumstance, or to think it's likely enough where you want to back up and not engage with that person. So
sure, but what I believe and feel has nothing to do with somebody else's human rights.
What I'm just trying to demonstrate is that it still meets a particular standard of evidence where you would say, like, I'm going to restrict engaging with them in these particular ways, right? I'm not going to hire them for a particular position. That's all required for the argument. But
so you're arguing for dictatorship. So if somebody says a thing, that should be the thing. Okay, dude.
Like, in terms of like the position with guns, like, I definitely vehemently disagree with this. I think it's kind of an absurd position to say that like you would want them to have guns, right? Just because you want to
again. Semantic obfuscation to say that you want them to have guns. Was that his position? That we got to make sure all the people who are arrested for violent crimes or civilly found civilly liable for violent crimes. Now we have to make sure, according to Brad Polumbo, according to Parker, we have to make sure that they all have guns. Not the position, is it? Not the position. So he says the problem is a criminal will not follow the law, period. So everyone needs to be able to protect themselves. If the government cherry picks criminals, it wins. Yep. No, it's a democratic dictatorship. You got me there. You got me there. Parker,
I think it's kind of an absurd position to say that like you would want them to have guns, right? Just because you want to support like the constitutional right. But I'm seeing that perspective.
Even if it was that like I want them to have guns because I think it's a good thing for people to be able to defend themselves. I don't hold that position. I think if you want to have guns, go for it. If you don't, then don't. But you're trying to create a gotcha moment out of a thing where it's just like, yeah, people believe this stuff, dude. Nick said you don't have to like the rights we have, you just have to not try to take them away from others. Bingo. What?
Have guns, right? Just because you want to support like the constitutional right. But I'm seeing that perspective is coming from like a libertarian.
Could
right?
you take any other perspective? So any other constitutional right. So free speech, for example. Could I say anybody who's been convicted of a bad crime, not convicted, found civilly liable of a bad crime, loses their right to freedom of speech?
Well, it depends on what.
Okay, so he's already said, did I put a poll here? Okay, we got a poll. So, okay, most of you not familiar with Brad, but it does seem like we like him. So let's try this. Fuck, I don't even remember what I was gonna do. Man, I had a good one. What was I gonna say? I lost it. Let's try again.
Of a bad crime loses their right to freedom of speech.
Well, it depends on what do they do. Like I wouldn't take away all their rights to freedom of speech.
Say they were found for wrongful death, right? Like a civil case, like a O.J. Simpson was acquitted criminally, but found civilly liable for the death of the woman that he allegedly killed. Could you say, well, if you're found civilly liable for wrongful death, you lose your right to free speech? You no longer have a First Amendment right.
So in terms of like the First Amendment right, I wouldn't see how necessary that would be to like restrict someone's free speech in particular circumstances.
That's not the question. The question is, would you restrict the right? Yes, I would restrict the right. No, I would not restrict the right. Or even, well, it would depend on the situation. Here are the standards that I would or would not. That's how you answer a question in good faith.
See how necessary that would be to like restrict someone's free speech in particular circumstances, comparative to like say access to like a gun.
Could you ban them from working for a newspaper ever?
Like would I be okay with doing that in terms?
Oh, in case you missed that.
Like restrict someone's free speech in particular circumstances, comparative to like say access to like a gun.
Could you ban them from working for a newspaper ever?
Like would I be okay with doing that in terms of like civil liability for like if someone was held civilly liable of sexual abuse, I'm okay with banning them from newspapers. That's fine.
So you don't.
That's insane, dude. That is insane. You're not even criminally. You're civilly liable, and you don't ever get to say anything in the newspaper ever again. And he's totally fine with that. Somebody get this man into civil court as a defendant.
I don't really believe in rights.
I do believe in rights. I think.
Do you though?
From newspapers, that's fine.
So you don't really believe in rights.
I do believe in rights. I think that's a good enough standard to say that like I wouldn't want them to have such an influence over vast majority of people, right? Because they were held civilly liable unanimously in by a jury of 9 people for like this terrible crime, like forcibly penetrating a woman's vagina against.
Where does it say that in the First Amendment? Freedom of the press, except if you've been found civilly liable for a crime.
Well, it's right there. It's right after the first sentence. And I do too, King. That is why I'm very, very happy that we are getting out of, this lame duck season where there's just not much going on. There's not much debates, and yeah, but there's more of this type of stuff. And I'm really excited that we're starting to kick back up again. So I like it too, and there will be more. If you are not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe. I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. Trying to do at least 4 streams a week. Zippy said not only newspaper, no online comments, no YouTube channel, no First Amendment rights, period, says Parker. And he's fine with that. He's totally fine with that. Sad.
Yeah, so I don't take it in terms of an absolutist stance in terms of the Constitution.
So
right?
just
You take an absolutist stance.
Yeah, I'm not an absolutist about the concept. I mean, like, if it works for me, then okay, we'll talk about the Constitution. But if not, then no, I'm not about that.
I don't take it in terms of an absolutist stance in terms of the Constitution.
So
Right?
just
You take an absolutist stance on the Constitution? Well, obviously, I'm going to interpret the law in a manner in which, yeah, I'm going to interpret the law in a particular way that's going to be more accordance with my desires. It's not going to just be predicated off of what currently exists in terms of the Constitution, because I wouldn't think that what exists under law is always justified.
I think if it's not justified, you have to amend it. You have to change it. I don't think you can reimagine what it says, because if it doesn't mean what it says, then it can mean anything at all. To you, it might mean one thing. To a Republican-appointed judge, it might mean something totally different, right? The First Amendment has to mean what it says. The Second Amendment has to mean what it says.
I'm not disputing. So you're saying legally how it should be applied right now. I'm talking about how it should be applied from my perspective. So if I have the ability to amend the Constitution in this type of way, I would do that. Like, if that makes sense. But you understand, like, the political realities of influencing that type of amendment to exist would be pretty hard to do, right?
Yeah, practically. But so just philosophically, though, you're comfortable taking someone's rights away, like freedom of speech, freedom of press, Second Amendment rights, even if there's a 49% chance they're innocent of the thing that you think they did.
And that's a really interesting flip on the way to do it. Well, like 50%, 51%, we got the preponderance of evidence. But what that actually means, potentially, is that Brad's about to say the same thing, but it's essentially a coin flip as to whether or not this person did what they're being accused of. And if it lands on heads, take away all their rights. If it lands on tails, good to go. That is literally what he's saying, how the justice system should work.
49% chance they're innocent of the thing that you think they did. That's like almost a coin flip.
So we're talking about 51% plus in terms of preponderance of evidence. If someone is held civilly liable of these sorts of things, it's not typically just 51%, right? Although the minimum...
But it could be. So fine. Yeah, maybe we have a situation where, like, it's a civil case where we know for sure. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about at all. Shout out to Guam Tech. Welcome to the party. Just sent out your stickers, but I didn't send out your stickers. Where are they? Oh, there. Well, I won't show the addresses, but got a sticker. As soon as this, remind me to put these in the mailbox. I did put them in the envelopes, but stickers are going out. Welcome to the party. You're pretty much coming in at the perfect time. The perfect time. Shout out to Nordic Born. Welcome. And let me get a skull. What is good? Welcome. Hey, we also got Guillermo. Oh, welcome. So those two white guys look like they want to create a cryptocurrency scam. I was going to say I'd buy it, but I mean, I'd buy that, not the coin. Welcome to the party. Shout out to El Diablo. Welcome. Said, where is the dog? The dog is right here. There we go. Thank you. So very, very much, sir. Very much appreciated. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Very much appreciated. We also got Yuri, Joe, and Clay. Skull. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you guys. Good to see you. So we said juries are hella dumb these days, though. They always were. You can't. It's like the old thing of like, oh, you can't even get out of jury duty. Like, yeah, they always were. Bill said, so death penalty for civil liability because we can remove rights for civil proceedings. Logic or something. Yeah, that's pretty much his perspective here. Kingston can stickers and a chocolate bar. Not a chocolate bar, but if you send an email to TheIndianJesusOfficial@gmail.com with your mailing address, yes, I will send you some stickers. I do have to order more, but yeah, absolutely. Shout out again to El Diablo, the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so much. And Morty very much appreciates it. All right, let's dive back in here.
So we're talking about 51% plus in terms of preponderance of evidence. If someone is held civilly liable of these sorts of things, it's not typically just 51%, right? Although the minimum, although the minimum is 50%, it's not always 51%. So the likelihood of these types of things is actually typically higher than that for it to actually be accurate, especially when we talk about sort of jury decisions that tend to be unanimous, right? When we're talking about, like, say, a split decision, if we had like a 5-4 proceeding, right, that would be a significantly a lower likelihood of probability than you would expect if you had a 9-person jury unanimously determine that. So you could also make a distinction predicate off
of evidence can be as low as 51% certainty.
Yeah.
He's just saying, well, maybe it wouldn't be though. Like, okay, again, not what we're talking about. Shout out to Dixon Sutter. Welcome to the party. Another skull. Welcome. Taco Baco in the building said what's generally being debated. So Parker on the left is a white dude for Harris who called out Brad, who's on the right with the green background, for being a Trump supporter, even though he is not. He is an independent, leaned right, voted for Chase Oliver. But Parker just assumed that because he said stuff that didn't agree with the liberal hive mind, then he must be a Trump supporter. And now he's getting into the fact that he thinks that if you are found civilly liable for a crime, that is totally okay to take away all your rights, including free speech. And Brad is holding it down. Hey, Nordic Born, thank you so very, very much. Let's go to Morty, and of course another treat right here. Whoa! You got to do it on camera, brother. He ripped that one right out there. Thank you so very, very much. Guillermo, another $2. Thank you. Said Morty wants White Castles, not shitty dog treats, bro. This is pure. This is pure beef liver. This is better quality for a human to eat than White Castle. So the Overlord only gets the best. Thank you, sir. Very, very, very much appreciated. We also got another one from Carl. It said, Skull F, Stutter and John, feed Morty, TSN for life. Hell yeah. Thank you so very, very much. El Diablo again. How much for peanut butter? Ooh, okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. Since you guys came in hot and you were doing a bunch of good stuff, the swole goal that we have up right now, if you look at the top of the chat and we have our swole goal, usually it's a collection, like 15 blue ones. I tried something different today. It was one $50 super chat. So if one person sends a $50 super chat, Morty will get not only will I do the swole goal push-ups, but Morty will also get his peanut butter. There you go. Thank you. Did I give him a treat for this one? Boom, in case I forgot, just a little extra. Thank you so very, very much. All right, where am I? Thank you so much, guys. Very much appreciated. Be saying the averages of common sense have bottomed out. I mean, people are definitely stupider than they used to be, I guess. But you always found the dumbest people on a jury anyway. So, I mean. Bill Bradley said, I don't think he understands the point of civil cases. Civil cases are an effort to recoup losses. You sue for losses. If there were no losses, you have no standing to sue at all. Civil cases are not a legal recourse for crime. Civil cases are a means of... Exactly. Thank you, Nordic Born. And shout out to Not BLT. Welcome to the party. Taco said, I've seen some of Brad's content. A lot of cringe, but he tends to be more fair towards Trump and MAGA, but also tends to like Parker. Interesting conversation. Yeah, this is my first kind of... I've seen him around, but not as much, not as in-depth as this. But yeah, I do like the dude. He is a cool dude. Hey, Not BLT with another $1.99. Said, good evening. January 20th. Can't come soon enough, my brother. I could not agree more. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. Very much appreciated. All right, so let's back this up a little bit so you guys can see the craziness.
So
Right?
just
You take an
means
absolute
whatever you
stance on
wanted
the
to say.
Constitution?
Update the
Well,
banner
obviously,
here.
I'm going to
I am a
interpret the law in a manner in
textualist,
which,
yes.
yeah, I'm going to interpret the law in a particular way that's going to be more accordance with my desires. It's not going to just be predicated off of what currently exists in terms of the Constitution. Because I wouldn't.
Well, at least he's being honest. At least he's like, well, yeah, rules for whatever helps me out. Helps me out. Shout out again to El Diablo, sponsor of the stream. Bill said Brad is pretty good. I think he has a background in economics, and he has an interesting perspective on the LGBTQ stuff, as he is a gay man. Yeah, there's that crowd is becoming a lot more vocal, where it's like the I happen, somebody happens to be gay or whatever, but they don't like all the ideology that comes with it. So I definitely appreciate that. Taco, so they established during the case that they believed he was liable of assault. Yes, civilly liable. Shout out to Ed C KC2UYQ. Welcome to the party. Shout out to TSN Skull and fuck Stuttering John. Am I right? Gang. All right. Very much appreciate you guys being here. Might as well say the gays. All right, let's do it.
With my desires, it's not going to just be predicated off of what currently exists in terms of the Constitution. Because I wouldn't think that what exists under law is always justified.
I think if it's not justified, you have to amend it. You have to change it. I don't think you can reimagine what it says, because if it doesn't mean what it says, then it can mean anything at all. To you, it might mean one thing. To a Republican-appointed judge, it might mean something totally different, right? The First Amendment has to mean what it says. The Second Amendment has to mean what it says.
Bro, seriously? You're about to argue no, the First Amendment doesn't have to mean what it says? That's all he said, and you said no.
First Amendment has to mean what it says. The Second Amendment has to mean what it says.
I'm not disputing. So you're saying legally how it should be applied right now. I'm talking about how it should be applied from my perspective. So if I have the ability to amend the Constitution in this type of way, I would do that. Like if that.
Okay, fine, but that's not what you're asking for. You're asking for it to just be changed. Oh, again from El Diablo, out sponsoring yo damn self. So what is that one Harris lover? Oh, sorry, let me get on camera. What is that one Harris lover? They both look gay. You're talking about Dean Withers? He was the guy that recently rage quit a debate with what's his face? Oh, come on, Morty, what did you do? Oh, I thought he closed out the whole thing. Dean Withers. Yeah, that's the guy we are. We might also cover in this stream, depending on how far we get with this. There's a lot of them. Brad says, textualism is the only legitimate way to read the Constitution. Agreed.
If I have the ability to amend the Constitution in this type of way, I would do that. Like, if that makes sense. But you understand, like the political realities of influencing that type of amendment to exist would be pretty hard to do, right?
Yeah, practically. But so just philosophically, though,
I mean, I would cast him as a Peter Parker.
You're comfortable taking someone's rights away, like freedom of speech, freedom of press, Second Amendment rights, even if there's a 49% chance they're innocent of the thing that you think they did. That's like almost a coin flip.
So we're talking about 51% plus in terms of preponderance of evidence. If someone is held civilly liable of these sorts of things, it's not typically just 51%, right? Although the minimum, although the minimum is 50%, it's not always 51%. So the likelihood of these types of things is actually typically higher than that for it to actually be accurate.
That's so besides the point.
Especially when we talk about jury decisions that tend to be unanimous, right? When we're talking about, like, say, a split decision, if we had like a 5-4 proceeding, right, that would be a significantly a lower likelihood of probability than you would expect if you had a 9-person jury unanimously determine that. So you can also make a distinction predicated on that.
Preponderance of evidence can be as low as 51% certainty.
Yeah. But like,
there
again,
would be cases in which people would lose their rights over essentially a coin flip burden of proof.
Yep, and he's totally fine with that. But notice how he also, when it comes to this, then you're totally fine talking about, well, most cases are da-da-da-da-da-da-da. When the framing, the standard itself, so the standard itself is the 51%. Take this logic and now ask him about abortion. And he's going to be talking about, well, this could happen, and that can happen, and that can happen, and that can happen, and that can happen, as a reason for the average birth control type abortions. It's like exactly what he said. I'm going to interpret things the way that's most convenient to me. Believe people when they tell you who they are.
Because when it's money changing hands, I mean, that's much less significant than taking people's rights away.
Again, what rights are you referencing? Right?
You said First Amendment rights. You said Second Amendment rights.
We're talking about, like, say, if we're talking someone who's been held civilly liable unanimously by a jury of 9 people for forcibly penetrating a woman's vagina against her will, I think they shouldn't be able to get access to, like, a newspaper. I'm totally fine with saying that, right? Like, that's not an issue with me. Is that an issue to you?
Yeah, if there's a 49% chance.
What do you mean why? Because the person could be innocent and you're willing to take away their freedom of speech and freedom to protect themselves. That's an issue. Innocent people don't deserve to have their rights taken away. It's that simple. Bill said, I really want to know if Parker would be okay with the death penalty for a civil trial, if he's okay with withholding rights for civil infractions. I would venture a guess that he would probably say no based on the death penalty itself. But I bet you could get him to say, based on a civil decision or a civil infraction, that somebody could get life in prison. I bet you he could. Carl's Frosted Tips. Did I say hello to you? Welcome to the party. So the second protects the first. I ain't giving up shit. I said shit. Me neither. Said Nick and as well. Takabaco. So personally, I think Parker is wrong here. Trump probably shouldn't have been allowed to run for office, but his argument is extreme for a civil case. And I tend to like Parker. I didn't know people didn't. I'm not going to go there. Fair enough. Yeah, and yeah, this is regardless of what you think about the eligibility of Trump himself, the law that's not connected to everybody else and how civil law should work. Because you also can't have freedom of speech taken away for any reason, even if even the worst felons still have free speech. It is wild to hear someone say that they would be okay with revoking that right for any reason. For any reason. Agreed.
They might not have done that thing.
Again, why are you assuming the lowest possible? When I said 9 people, unanimously of 9 people, why are you assuming the lowest possible probability?
Because that is the only burden they have to clear. I agree with you that in some cases they might actually be 99% certain, but that's the actual minimum standard. So
because of the limitations that exist, like for example with Donald Trump, there's a limitation in terms of statute of limitations with criminal courts. So we wouldn't be able to test whether or not it meet the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt because of the statute of limitations that exist.
Yeah.
So like obviously. So obviously, like under the current law, like I would say that there are going to be plenty of civil liability cases that are not able to be tried in criminal courts, where I think they should have restricted access to it. Now, you could say maybe there are certain civil cases where the probability is just so low, right? Maybe it's close to that 51% where you're like, okay, maybe I'm not okay with giving it up in that particular circumstance, right? But
okay, but that's not how it works. We need a standard. It's not just Parker gets to decide. Dictator.
But then you could make a distinction between other types of civil cases, right? Even if you take that perspective where you're like, okay, I don't want them because they had such a high probability of this happening to them and it couldn't be tried in criminal courts. I don't want them to have access to these certain things. So I have a question. If it was 99% likelihood, right, based on a civil liability case that they forcefully penetrated a child against their will, right? No. They were not able to be tried in a criminal court because of statute of limitations law. Would you restrict their rights to get access to a gun?
So I've always said criminal convictions, I'm comfortable with those kinds of restrictions. The counter argument you'll hear from some absolutist libertarians is if they're still so dangerous, they shouldn't be out of jail in the first place. And I think I can see why they would say that. But I've always been comfortable with criminal convictions coming along of serious crimes and assaults coming with a determination that you can't purchase a firearm. Will it really stop a determined criminal? Not necessarily. Now, if you're saying, could you give civil juries the option to say, in this case, we actually are certain beyond a reasonable doubt as well, and we would like to also enact a deprivation of Second Amendment rights, I could potentially get on board with that. Yeah, I mean, I just want, when we're talking about taking people's fundamental rights away, and I believe freedom of speech and the right to self-defense are fundamental human rights, I don't support a low standard of evidence or doing that willy-nilly. And it sounds like you're much more comfortable with that, which is maybe just a fundamental disagreement.
So you did say that like someone who is 99% likelihood.
I would have liked it. That was a cut there. I would have liked to see how he responded.
Which is maybe just a fundamental disagreement.
So you
see that cut there. I would have liked to see what that was. I'm curious why you wouldn't. I mean, maybe just for brevity, but I don't know. If you're going to have a long-form conversation, have a conversation.
You did say that like someone who is 99% likelihood and they were held civilly liable, but they weren't able to be tried in a criminal court. You would say in that circumstance they should have restricted access to a gun.
I think there could be a way you could do that would be just and fair. Yeah, if juries could certify had the option to do that, maybe that would make sense. If they were still being clear that in this case, we're more than 51% sure. We are 99% sure. I don't want the low burden of proof used to deny people their fundamental rights. So
sure. So then when I would ask you, like, what probability would then justify restricting people's rights? Like, would you have any type of like sort of, I'm not asking for like a specific number, like maybe like a range?
Beyond a reasonable doubt. This isn't new information, bro. This isn't like beyond a reasonable doubt.
Like, does it have to be 99%?
I think it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. Yeah. I mean, these are core human rights we're talking about. This isn't, your ability to go on vacation. Like, this is your fundamental human right to express yourself, your fundamental right to defend your life and your property and your family from other people. I think that has to be really fundamental. I do want to
85%.
Oh my God. And so, yeah, Taco, who likes Parker, is saying Brad is right here. Trump should definitely be on a offender list. But what the fuck are you talking about? Taking his guns and internet? If it was a domestic abuse, maybe, but that would be criminal, not civil. And again, you can have civil cases on things like domestic abuse, but exactly, yeah, completely agree. Parker Bill Bradley said no probability that a civil infraction should not remove someone's rights. Agreed.
I say 99%. I say beyond a reasonable doubt.
Okay, so 85%, you would be okay with them getting access to a gun legally.
I wouldn't want to deprive someone of their human rights based off a 15% chance they're innocent.
Again, notice how Parker flipped it around and said, oh, you want them to have it, or you're okay with it, or you'd be fine with it.
85%, you would be okay with them getting...
You'd be okay with it. Like, what do you mean? What exactly do you mean by be okay with it? I'm not okay with the crime in the first place. But it happened. And so now we have to deal with it. That doesn't mean that's... Jesus Christ.
Getting access to a gun legally.
I wouldn't want to deprive someone of their human rights based off a 15% chance they're innocent. No.
And again, turning it around and using whether it's a preponderance of evidence, meaning that it's almost a coin flip that this person could be innocent. And now he's trying to, crank up the numbers and find that number. And even if it's a 15% chance, that is a 15% chance that the person did nothing wrong. And you're fine with taking their rights.
Of sexual abuse?
Yeah.
Okay, but so are you in support of the death penalty?
No.
Okay.
My belief on the death penalty has always been, I don't think the government is good at doing things. I don't think it's efficient or effective. So I would rather have 20 people spend life in prison than execute one innocent person.
100% agree. 100% agree. There are people, there are situations where if I was presented with that, and I knew all the details, and let's say it's on video from different angles and whatever, I may determine that I personally wouldn't have a moral quandary with that person losing their life. That is a different thing than entrusting the government to make that determination. That is a very, very different thing. Bill said many leftists really seem to think the word right is just a synonym for privilege. Yep. And then that makes sense as to why they feel so entitled to their privileges, because they think their privileges are their rights. Nick said if they go through the process to legally obtain the firearm, they probably aren't who we need to be worried about. Just saying. Very true. Very true. Criminals don't follow the law.
20 people spend life in prison, then execute one innocent person.
Bing.
So I do want to move along. We can talk about this stuff more long form, maybe if we go live on TikTok together.
Yeah,
I want to play you a clip of E. Jean Carroll from CNN. Take a listen.
You don't feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
But I think most people think of
She's not my type.
rape it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're just going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
Even Anderson's like, what?
You're fascinating to talk to.
Yeah.
So
can I address these two? Because like there's two things here, right? One, when we're talking about grape, right? The heavy influence behind grape.
you can
right,
say
is
rape. It's not TikTok.
Sorry. No, I wasn't. That's just not like intentional for me. I'm just so used to doing that, especially because I'm on an iPad. So in terms of rape, right? The many influences that exist behind rape, right, aren't just necessarily like what people would say in terms of sexual attraction. It's in terms of power. Right.
Yeah, I agree.
So like there's a heavy
that,
influence. And I think that's what she's trying to allude to in that particular context, is that it wasn't necessarily like the circumstance that it was predicated off of, like whether or not there was an attraction. It was predicated off of the fact that there was an exert of influence or power over another individual. Right.
Okay, so you're creating a standard where it is reasonable that if I hear somebody say something that sounds wild, that there may be a different explanation. And that it may not be as crazy as it sounds from the clip that is put out. Why can't you do that with Trump?
And then when she's referencing other people who think that like it's quote unquote sexy, she's referencing like the fact that there's like rape culture prevalent within our society, that people might view this in even like a positive connotation in sort of a sexual manner, which is disgusting, despicable, and it shouldn't be viewed that way. And I think that's alluded to like later in the conversation.
Do you think she comes off as credible and stable in that clip?
If you just take that soundbite, like, of course, I don't think that like disputes her credibility.
You don't think her saying and leaving Anderson Cooper stunned, saying rape is, most people think of rape as sexy. You don't think that's a strange thing to say, at least?
I guess from based on what Bill is saying, the fact that Brad is gay, it does, because we're very familiar with the notion that women like that, at least more openly is the right word. I guess I wouldn't have a way of knowing how many men are into fantasies like that. But we know that's a common thing, a common thing for women. And maybe that what she was saying, but she said most people, and maybe that's just a solipsistic projection. But again, the point here is that it's weird. Taking it at face value is weird, and he is offering a reinterpretation as to the thing that sounded really bad. Maybe it's not that bad, and fine. I'm willing to accept that. But how come you're not on the other side? Northbourne said, was there any proof of the assault? I'm going to be honest with you. I did not follow that case at all. When it comes to those things, especially with big politicians or big celebrities, I just tend to wait, because a lot of it is engagement bait. A lot of it is just to get people talking about it instead of this, that, or the other. So I usually just wait until there's a reason to a reason enough that it's a real thing, not a nothing burger, to then look into. And never really got that far with E. Jean Carroll.
People think of rape as sexy. You don't think that's a strange thing to say, at least?
No, because I just explained it, right? People think of it that way because it perpetuates grape culture. She's acknowledging that there's a problem with grape culture.
Sexy?
I can dispute that, right? But that doesn't mean that she's not credible or reliable, right? She's just perpetuating.
That's exactly what it means. When you say a thing that doesn't have credit behind it, then your credibility is lost.
perpetuating, or she's perpetuating an idea that there's this idea in culture and society, right, that this type of thing, right, isn't like this violent and terrible act. It's specifically like this quote unquote sexy thing, right, and it's portrayed in a positive connotation, which perpetuates worse conditions for this to continue to occur, right? So she's arguing.
And then, again, I did not look super deep into this, and Taco, that's a perfectly reasonable position to take. I just need this same energy when we are saying, oh, Trump, we saw this clip of Trump, but actually what he's saying is this. I'll give you that if y'all will give us that.
Arguing that this is bad in a certain context. So if you just clip it, have you watched the whole Anderson Cooper interview?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
yeah.
so you then watched her talk about the fact that she thinks that this isn't the way that they should view it, right?
Right. I just think she comes off across the whole thing as, I mean, it doesn't mean she wasn't victimized, to be clear. I mean, victims don't have to be perfect, but she does.
This is a great point, King. So let's say she had a point, and she was talking about exactly what Parker just said about how rape culture is so bad and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The only thing that I could see from that is her brushing off whatever did or didn't happen to her because of the fact that people like to make something out of nothing. So either it's, oh my, crazy lady, or not a crazy lady, perfectly reasonable, saying, no, that didn't happen to me. Either way, I don't see what the bad part is. Bill said there's no world where most normal people see SA as sexy. It is a ridiculous claim. Yep. They always do. Difference is okay. Yeah, fine. That's what I'm talking about.
Does not come off as super reliable or credible. She comes off as a little bit confused.
Okay, so then, like, here would be my question. Let's say you don't think that she's credible, right? Do you think that Donald Trump is more credible, given that he said that he wouldn't have sexually abused her because she's quote unquote not his type, but then in a deposition mistook her with his ex-wife, indicating they're either both his type or both not his type?
No,
given
I don't
that he
think
would have
Trump is
sexually abused her
credible
either
at
way.
all. I think he lies all the
Okay, wait.
time.
So who is more credible?
Does one of them have to be more? Can't they both lack credibility?
They could both lack credibility. That doesn't mean they have the same level of credibility.
Okay, so out of a scale of 100, let's say for the sake of argument that E. Jean Carroll has a level 5 and Donald Trump has a level 6. Neither of them are credible, which is Brad's point.
I guess I don't know nearly as much about her. I don't trust anything Trump says. I would verify anything he says because I've seen him lie so many times.
Well, I agree. So, like, we know that he was lying about these circumstances. So, obviously, if we can identify that he was lying about these set of circumstances and she hasn't lied about these circumstances, whether or not you think that she's less credible because of the way that she frames these particular positions, or whether or not you disagree with her on the prevalence of great culture within our society, that doesn't take away the fact that she's more reliable about
Okay, so she's more reliable and she said it didn't happen. And then what are we talking about? Oh my goodness. So you know what? Since I don't have peanut butter ready, we will do that. Let's give Morty a big treat here and shout out Funk Master General. Let's give him a double. Funk Master General coming in hot, hitting that gold. Thank you. So very, very much, sir. What I wanted to do was get two $20 super chats. I think that would have been ideal, but they only have it in, you could do 1 or 5. And so I thought 5 20s was too much. But Funkmaster coming through one more again. And yep, I promised some peanut butter. Shout out to El Diablo, who just lost the sponsor spot, but very, very, very much appreciated. And yes, so based on your wishes, my command, we will wait till the end of the show. But thank you so very, very much, sir. You, sir, of course, are the new sponsor of the stream. So I'll make sure we got this. We got this. All right, welcome. Thank you so very much, sir.
Agree with her on the prevalence of grape culture within our society. That doesn't take away the fact that she's more reliable about the set of occurrences that happen than Donald Trump is.
I guess my only point in bringing this clip up to you is not that, like I told you, I'm bothered by this about Trump. I'm bothered by the other allegations by women against him. But I know so many people who I know to be good people who voted for Trump, and they don't believe E. Jean Carroll. It's not that they're voting for someone who they think is a rapist. It's that they don't think he's guilty and they don't find her credible. And you might disagree with that. I don't think they're crazy for thinking that. I don't think they're terrible people for thinking that, because she comes off as not very credible. I wanted to be a lawyer before I went into journalism.
But you don't think they're crazy for thinking that Trump is credible?
Well, I think politics makes.
Shout out to Extras. Welcome to the party. Long time no see. Always a pleasure to see you. Welcome.
Journalism.
But you don't think they're crazy for thinking that Trump is credible?
Well, I think politics makes a lot of people crazy.
Okay, so they are crazy.
Well, they're not like literally crazy. No, I think if they think Trump is a totally truthful person, I think that would be a kind of delusional belief. Yeah.
That's kind of what they're relying on here. They're relying on just that Trump said, oh, it didn't happen. She's not the chosen one. And that's like a good enough position for them.
Nope. Wrong, sir. We have a standard, a presumption of innocence. That's where we're starting from.
And then they're not going to accept any civil liability. They don't accept his criminal cases, right? A lot of these people, they don't accept the results of the last election. And we both agree those things are like insane for them to believe, right? So a lot of these people, you can say that they're good people. They're heavily misinformed, right? I'm not saying that they're bad people necessarily. I'm saying they're heavily misinformed, right? And they because of all the confusing nonsense of people lying in the media,
doesn't require you to be heavily misinformed. It's not, I mean, she's not super credible. There's not much actual evidence.
Wait, what do you mean? Wait, can you name two pieces of evidence in the case that were submitted?
Her testimony. I don't know. Wasn't their address. This was a couple of years ago now.
It wasn't necessarily submitted because Trump did give up his DNA within the 2 to 3 years allotted for him to give it up. So like the point I'm saying is that a lot of people don't know about the case and they assume that it has less credibility because literally tens of millions of people don't believe it because they believe whatever Trump says. And I get that there's a lot of people out there that think are genuine.
It's not about believing what Trump says. It's about believing the apparatus around what is Trump saying, what is the media saying, what are other people saying. You have to take the confluence of everything that you have. I wasn't there. I don't know. So again, I can only go on the information that I have, and we have a presumption of innocence. So there you go. Nordic Born said apparently Carol told two friends after the incident happened. After the incident happened in the early 90s. No proof, just word of mouth. Our justice system is a shit show, in my opinion. So now apparently the court papers said this. And so yeah, I mean that's just, accusations happen. It's just exactly. That's where I was gonna go, Bill. Super credible to come out decades later to file a suit that just so happens to line up in time to hurt someone's character as they run for office. It's not like Trump wasn't rich before all this. It's not like if this happened and she came forward in 2012. That didn't happen though. And we saw what happened with the Kavanaugh chick. Just fell apart. So there needs to be a higher standard of skepticism.
Because they believe whatever Trump says. And I get that there's a lot of people out there that think are genuine people. Again, she said a lot of people think of it that way, which is a bad thing. She then elucidated on the fact that that's bad.
It's a very strange clip and a very strange thing to say.
And I'll give that to Parker. And say, shout out to the Duke lacrosse players who just came out last year, and said she made it all up. But yeah, I'll give Parker the point here that okay, just because she's quirky and weird doesn't mean she's not credible. I'll give her that. But the case didn't hinge upon whether or not she was weird or not.
You could
say it comes off very strange. She comes off.
You could say it's strange. That doesn't reduce her credibility.
It kind of does.
How?
Because if she holds strange views. She says she didn't feel victimized, but it was also violent, and it wasn't about sex, which I agree. It's not always about sex.
Wait, can I clarify that? When she says that, like, okay, so there are plenty of circumstances where people are victimized, and because of how society portrays them as a victim, they don't know how to understand that they are a victim in plenty of circumstances. So whether or not someone doesn't feel like a victim, right, particularly, that doesn't change the idea that they aren't a victim. That just perpetuates the idea that because people in society don't view them as a victim or don't believe them, right, that they might try to dispute in their own head that that was the case, that it happened, right? You understand that happens with plenty of victims. I know people in my own life, right, who have experienced circumstances like this, where it was hard for them to portray themselves as a victim, to see themselves as a victim, right, because of how people like view this in society. So I don't think that any of these things are reducing her credibility.
Yeah, I guess I do disagree with you. I don't think they.
So Taco says, this was our pay in the 90s against Donald Trump. I wouldn't necessarily blame her for not wanting to come forward immediately with what lawyers, what funds, before Weinstein and all that. Okay, so how come how come we, like, why then? Like, why not? If she's not going to come out, then she's not going to come out. I would understand that. You know, I could totally see that if I were, I mean, man or woman, if you go through something like that and you think, you know, it's terrible, it's wrong, I know this person did it, but I'd rather just move on with my life. Okay, that seems to be what she decided to do until it became convenient. Bill said she waited until he was running for office and then she decided to come forward. People are going to question that. And that's another good point as to the response to something like this, Taco, is that, again, I'm not willing to sit here and say, I know nothing happened. I'm not willing to say that. I'm willing to go on the presumption of innocence and the outweighed benefit of how the country can be helped. And you can agree or disagree with that. But let's not pretend that people questioning the timing is bad or weird or anything like that. That's yeah, maybe it was legit, but people will question the timing and thus her credibility. Yeah, Parker, he was there. He was there. He wasn't alive in the 90s, but he was there.
They mean she's a liar, but I do think a person who has very clear recollection of the facts, has an extremely clear accounting of what happened, doesn't have ambiguity, doesn't come across as confused, is more credible than someone who does. It doesn't mean she's necessarily lying.
Actually, is that true? Like,
so right, again, I agree, Taco. So the preponderance of evidence says that he has the liability to be responsible for damages. That's not the same thing. And unfortunately, if you just can't go and connect a dot between this and saying, oh, he did the thing. That is just not how the law works. That's just not how it works. And the court did not find him guilty. A court found him civilly liable. Exactly. You don't get guilty or innocent in civil cases. That is exactly the point. I agree with you. Innocent until a court finds you guilty. Which court found him guilty?
Like, actually, in criminal cases, like, for example, if you have like a set story and everything is consistent about it, don't they see that as like evidence against it? That it was like something that was like brought up before, that like, oh, you're just trying to portray a particular story. They actually use this in cases against people.
That they have a consistent story. No, consistency in your story is something you look for to establish a witness as credible.
Yeah.
Wait, actually, if you look at consistency, you understand that if we have total 100% consistency and that there's no discrepancies in perspective, that's going to indicate that they had some type of conversation or a meeting or sort of they might have portrayed views together to be.
Together with who? You're really trying to say that if somebody tells a story of something that happened to them, and then they tell the same story with all the same details, that means that it must be not true? What?
Be able to get a story together before they came to like the court case or the setting.
I think you're talking about across multiple witnesses. I'm talking about one witness. If their story isn't consistent over time, that's a sign that they're either maybe misremembering or their memory is not 100% sharp or that they're lying.
And fine, like if he's talking about multiple people, okay, if all people in a situation have the same story, it's either exactly what happened or a giant conspiracy. Like, okay, if that's what you want to say, But again, as Brad just said, we're not talking about a group of people corroborating stories with each other. We're talking about a lady telling her own story. You don't need to be informed, misinformed, to be able to listen to what she says and make a determination on whether you feel that she's trustworthy or not. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you automatically know, which is why I don't think that Brad had the strong case of, well, she seems weird, so she must be lying or something like that. I don't necessarily agree with that, but he's just making a non-point here. There's no for E. Jean Carroll. No, yeah, oh yeah, of course, because no crime was committed.
That they're either maybe misremembering or their memory is not 100% sharp, or that they're lying. I mean, if you watch
So let's make a distinction. When we say logically consistent versus just misremembering, I think we can make a distinction between those. If someone misremembers a date, I don't think that makes their story inconsistent, right?
But
so we're talking from a single perspective.
Christine Blasey Ford, who accused Brett Kavanaugh, couldn't remember what year the alleged assault happened. That does reduce the credibility of her accusation.
Really? So I have a friend who was assaulted as a child. He doesn't remember the specific year. You're saying it reduces the credibility of...
She wasn't a child. If she was a child and she didn't remember whether she was 7 or 6, that would be one thing. This was purported to be in college. The cope.
So I have a friend who was assaulted as a child. He doesn't remember the specific year. You're saying it reduces the credibility of his position because he doesn't remember the year?
Well, I think it's different with a child than with somebody who, I think that was when they were in high school.
Okay, if they're in high school, if they were assaulted in high school and they don't remember the specific year, right? I don't think that reduces their credibility.
It doesn't mean they're a liar, but yes, it does make the accusation, because also it's harder to defend yourself against an accusation that you don't even know when it allegedly happened. How can you provide yourself an alibi or explain that you weren't there or whatever when they're not even naming a year in which this occurred? I understand trauma affects the brain in different ways, and some people forget things. And so I'm not saying it means they're, a liar making things up to take someone down, but it does reduce the certainty with which we're able to evaluate their accusation. That's my point, when there's a lack of clarity or consistency or specificity to their accusations or their memories. And when we're talking about
consistency, that's just misremembering, right? And humans typically misremember. And like you said, it's expected, actually, if someone is through a traumatic event, that they might misremember it, right? That's expected. So if we have that expectation, I don't know how that's going to reduce the credibility or the probability of it being true, given...
So the person who has the story and remembers all the details exact down to the day, they're probably making it up. But the person who has no idea, well, we should definitely trust them. We should definitely trust them because, the trauma. This is literally his argument. Bill said you can't defend yourself against a charge if there is no date. Part of how one defends themselves is to show they were elsewhere on the date in question. There's no date, they cannot provide an alibi, which is why it is not enough in a criminal case. Yep. Taco said, not exactly comfortable with a civilly liable commander-in-chief either. Well, when you find one that wouldn't be, had they gone to court, then we can have that conversation. But I think that the politics are politicking. Bill said the fact that in the civil case you didn't get a solid date to be able to provide an alibi makes it questionable as well. Yep, very well said. Very well said.
That's expected. So if we have that expectation, I don't know how that's going to reduce the credibility or the probability of it being true, given the fact that, again, we expect this to be the case. It's probable to be the case, right? If someone is traumatized in that type of way.
Well, I don't know if it's more, I don't know if it happens in the majority of cases or not, but I guess I start from the premise that we have to prove that this thing is true before we can punish someone for it. And so the question is not, is this way that they're responding to it bad or good, normal or abnormal? It's just, are we able to prove this thing or not? And the less detail, the less specificity to their memory, the less concrete the accusation, the more inconsistent the accusation is over time.
Yeah. And so next time, he's doing a great job explaining to the kid. Too bad, doesn't want to actually learn anything that could make him change his mind. And I think that is, we talk a lot about understanding the landscape and reading the room when you're in these situations. And so from what other people said, like I looked at some of the comments and stuff, and other people who are more familiar with Brad were saying, he's going easy on him. I think Brad seemed to understand what he was dealing with, that he wasn't going to be able to convince Parker of anything. but that he's going to be able to allow Parker to display what he thinks and then be able to knock that down. So it's not about convincing Parker, it's about convincing the however many the 43,000 people that watched. Bill said, people forget that our system protects the accused in criminal proceedings, and it does not do it to the same extent in a civil case. These things are so vastly different. It's almost like we have a different name for them.
Time there were some serious inconsistencies to Christine Blasey Ford's story. I know more about that one than I do about E. Jean Carroll.
Wait, so can we use that same? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I really apologize. I have a point I think that we can
Sure, go
on. Right. So then couldn't we use the same type of idea to reduce the credibility of Donald Trump?
I mean, yeah,
right, like the fact that he lied, the fact that
to me.
Okay, wait. So again, when we're evaluating who's right in a particular,
okay, but that's not. We're not voting for Trump based on the truth telling. We're voting for Trump based on his effect on America. I'm not looking for a friend. I'm looking for a leader.
Particular circumstance, either E. Jean Carroll or Donald Trump, right? If we're judging that on the probability of it being accurate, wouldn't we take the one that is more probable in
So this is exactly the same thing, though. This is precisely and exactly the same situation.
In making like an accurate claim?
Well, I start from the presumption of innocent until proven guilty. So
I said shit. Me too.
Assuming that people are innocent until I feel we've proved that they are guilty. And if they're both not credible and we started at the point that they're innocent, that doesn't take us to the point that they're guilty. You see what I'm saying?
Wait, so what establishes E. Jean Carroll is not credible? Because you would just say that you wouldn't believe anything in that circumstance, I'm guessing?
It's not that you don't believe anything she says. It's that I find her to be not credible when she goes on television and speaks in such a bizarre manner about rape and about sex and about her own experience as a victim. I find it reduces her credibility.
Wait, so you from your position can't say it didn't happen either?
No,
so you can't say it did or didn't happen.
No, I can't say
it just sounds like you're saying
no, and of course not. Nobody is here claiming we know for a fact that did not happen. You're the one claiming, nuh-uh, it definitely did happen because this other thing that's tangentially connected to it said that he's liable for these civil charges, therefore he did the thing. That's just not how it works. Bill said Gates was investigated for multiple years by the FBI and no charges were filed. The FBI has even more information than the Ethics Committee. The Ethics Committee report was purely political. The legal system already looked into that case and moved on. I'll get there. Nick said, there are times I know I have a biased opinion on something, so I know I have to be more willing to re-examine my thoughts, not dig my heels in deeper. And that is what is missing from just so many people. Where was did I miss projection? Was that a projection?
Like you want to be agnostic either?
No,
so you can't say it did or didn't happen.
No, I can't say
it just sounds like you're saying like you want to be agnostic on it.
Not really a projection. I think the him saying, oh, so you're saying that's not really projection. I think it's close, but not quite. We want to save that for the real official projection.
Well, because it's not proven to be true by a high standard of proof. So
okay, but you didn't even know most of the evidence in the case.
So,
but how is that? So, but the people who made that determination did, and you're the trust the experts guy, right? So, what does that mean? That if Brad Polumbo knew the details better, we know the verdict.
Standard of proof. So
okay, but you didn't even know most of the evidence in the case.
Sorry, I just lost you for a second there.
You didn't know most of the evidence in the case, so how are you evaluating that?
Well, partly because I guess you're right. It hasn't been tried criminally, so I can't know that. But again, I start at the presumption of innocence. Do you believe in innocence?
Did you look at the evidence though?
I did at the time. That case was a couple of years ago now.
Sure. Yeah. So if we're, the proceeding, the liability was like last year or 2 years, or like 2 years, less than 2 years ago. But like the point I'm making from this is that if we don't know the evidence, then we can't specifically evaluate that one particular party would be innocent or guilty from that particular respect.
Right. Exactly. So if you start at innocent and you can't say more innocent, or you can't say innocent or guilty or more guilty, then we remain at innocent. Makes it a little closer to trying to clarify and understand, just not the best way to go about it. Agreed.
One particular party would be innocent or guilty from that particular respect, right? From your perspective, you would just be assuming that they're innocent, correct?
Yes.
Right. I do assume that people are innocent until they're proven guilty.
Okay. So, but you, in order to evaluate whether or not
That's America, Jack.
they're proven guilty, you have to look at the evidence of the case, correct?
Right. Which we did do. We all did at the time, and we poured through it.
I don't think we all did, and that's the issue.
Well, people covering journalism did. People working in media and journalism did. I remember I covered the case on television on Fox at the time, and I said it was disturbing for that he was found civilly liable for it.
And yeah, like that's not obviously, I'm not like, oh yay, he's found civilly liable, that's great. Like obviously, yeah, that's not a good thing. If that happened, that's not great. But I don't see how that prevents him from being the person who's going to prevent the Democratic establishment from destroying all of our lives. Are we about to sit here and say that Kamala Harris and that was the fucking situation that we're dealing with? It's not anybody, and we just picked Trump. It was Trump or Kamala. What are we doing? So the system is designed to protect the accused from the government overreach. The left really does not understand the point of rights. He just doesn't understand how rights work. Parker thinks it's all just privileges. Yep. And he just wants to take away whatever he wants to take away. Well, I don't like it, so therefore. Authoritarian.
Said it was disturbing for that he was found civilly liable for it. So I remember we digged it. The problem is when you're covering politics, and I'm sure you'll come to see.
Why is it disturbing?
Why is it disturbing?
Yeah, under your view, why is it disturbing? Because you
there's a good chance he did it.
Because you shouldn't do that to women. Are you under the impression, Parker, that every person who voted for Trump is just like, yeah, that's good, we should do more of that?
Why is it disturbing?
Yeah, under your view, why is it disturbing? Because
there's a good chance he did it. There's a good chance he did it, and it's consistent with some of his other comments. And I have always thought Donald Trump was a pig towards women, and it was very clear. I mean, he's said it on camera. It's one of many reasons I've never supported him.
So you would say it's likely true?
It's more likely than not. It's at least 51% because we know that from what the jury found.
Sure, but like,
and still, I would prefer him over the Democrats. No, see, we believe it is more likely than not. These distinctions matter. And just like Bill is saying, like you're just mushing ideas and concepts and things together. We've been very, 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 very clear about this. We said somebody who is civilly liable for sexual assault, that you shouldn't have their rights taken away. Yes, that is what I believe.
Like if you had to establish some type of probability, would you say it's more right than 51% probable?
I guess I would say I don't know. I'd have to review the case in full before I could assess that.
Mm-hmm. If you like knew one of your, so I don't want to go. We can go into this further questioning about like the case if you don't think you have time here. But like I can run this down so many different ways. Like, would you be accepting of this standard of evidence as like a friend?
Well, it's
right?
a little,
would you
it's a
be
little
friends with them
different
still?
in a political context because
yeah, bro. If I was friends with somebody who was civilly liable for sexual assault, then I wouldn't be friends with them. You know who else I wouldn't be friends with? Donald Trump. When did we start talking about friend groups? I'm talking about leading the country in a choice of two people who have definitely committed crimes, who have definitely lied, who definitely don't give a shit about people, who definitely are just in it for their own benefit. It's all the same. Just because they focused more on the Trump stuff doesn't mean it's not there with the Democrats. I don't get how they I don't get it. I don't get it. It's such a simple way to look at things. He said the left hates binary things, except for this case. Bingo. There you go. Gontek said, stepped away for a minute. Just gotta say, dude on the left is giving me mad American Psycho vibes. The dude on the left. Oh, so Brad, he's just a well-groomed gay man. All right. Shout out to James Q Legend. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Can you heal all pain? No, but heroin good. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party.
Friend?
Well, it's
Right,
a
like, would
little,
you
it's a
be
little
friends with him
different
still?
in a political context because false accusations are incredibly.
Oh, honey. Oh, honey. Oh, honey. I don't know because they hide them. But are you under the impression that because we don't know that they don't exist? Again, that's where this is coming from. Like, oh, it's only because the people on the TV said he did this. Okay, well, what about the things that she or whoever's fucking handling her did that nobody paid attention to and purposely hid that we know is how Washington works? That's how Washington works. Hey, shout out to J-Dog. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Coming in hot with the 5 gifted memberships. And of course, every donation gets a treat for my co-host, Morty, aka the Overlord. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. Guys, shout out to J-Dog. If you got a gifted membership from J-Dog, make sure you join the Discord, guys. That is what this is all about, building a community. It's all a good times, having fun chatting with you guys, but Discord is where you want to be. It is free to join. It is absolutely free to join, but if you are a member, then you get access to the whole enchilada. Join us over there. J-Dog, thank you so very, very much. Also, it said KFT is a legend. Shout out to Carl's Frosted Tips. Thank you, thank you, thank you, sir. So every politician does crimes, but Trump did enough to get noticed. He did enough to damage the status quo to make the establishment want us to notice. Yes. So again, I'll leave you with the question, or I'll really ask the question that I asked you that you just decided to ignore. See how when you ask questions, I answer them? So I would appreciate if you could do the same. Are you under the impression that it is impossible that Kamala Harris has done more crimes than Donald Trump? Is that impossible? Bill Bradley said Trump won because he positioned himself as anti-establishment in a time when the establishment systems have low public trust. There's no mystery. Well, I mean, you know, if what was I going to say? Damn, I lost it. Oh yeah, well, if the orange man's bad, then of course there's a mystery. Did I miss James Q Legend? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Good to see ya. Good to see ya. Context, I mean, Kamala sure did treat those nonviolent criminals in her prisons pretty shitty. Longer sentences than needed just for free labor, free slave labor. Say it ain't so. Yep. Bill said everything else is white noise. We are in a populist moment, and one politician positioned themselves as the establishment, and the other positioned themselves as anti-establishment. Pretty simple. So maybe didn't break the law, but when the law is corrupt in the first place, does it really matter anymore? Yeah. So like, let's go back. Let's use Nancy Pelosi as an example. Her she did. I forget exactly what the measurement was, but we know every year her personal private stock portfolio does better than everyone. Anything. Insider trading is a crime. Are you really under the impression that Nancy Pelosi is just that good at stocks? I mean, I guess I could see how somebody would think that, but it would be retarded. Shout out to TSN.
friends with them
Different
still?
in a political context because false accusations are incredibly rare in normal life where people don't have an incentive to lie about someone. False accusations are decidedly less rare in celebrity or political instances where, I mean, look at Brad Kavanaugh. A couple of the accusations that came out against him totally fell apart and were revealed to be complete bunk, actually made up. Now, not Christine Blasey Ford, which just remained unproven, but when there's a political person that people despise, there is a much higher probability that somebody might make a false claim on them. False claims don't happen frequently in day-to-day life of sexual assault or of rape. So a woman doesn't wake up and decide to, with rare exceptions, it actually has happened in a couple cases, of course, to just accuse someone of horrifically assaulting them. It is different in celebrity and political cases where there's potential huge payoffs to be had. There's political motivations to be had. So I do think you have to be significantly more skeptical of claims in the political arena than you would ever be in your day-to-day life.
And of course, that's the problem, is that they're not. There's such a trust in, the people who are in charge, the people who do this, the people who tell us what's really good, said this thing. Therefore, it's true. That's your whole. Did you just now okay, all right, nope, all right, no, yeah, nope, totally.
Okay, so you would say that with like rich people as well, like, because there could be like a rich person who has money where someone wants to falsify a claim against them. Right? So you'd say it's more likely in that circumstance.
This happens to like celebrity athletes and that kind of.
I would go as far as to say there's a direct correlation between the more money somebody has and the more likely they are to be falsely accused. Yeah.
Thing. Yeah, you also have to be more skeptical. It doesn't mean they didn't do it. Of course, lots of them are sick perverts and assaulters, as we've seen. But you do have to be more skeptical because some people do accuse very wealthy people or very famous people of things looking for a payoff.
Okay, well then I could ask you this question. Let's say you knew someone that was like a celebrity, right? And they had the same sort of case against them. They were held. Actually, let's just say you were friends with Trump, right? And you found out about this.
I don't think I would be friends with Trump.
There we go.
Me neither. But again, not voting for a friend, voting for a leader. James Q. Legend said you should always be skeptical. I can't speak. Trying to get comfortable. I lost my ability to speak. You should always be skeptical about any and all claims until the burden of proof is met. Believe nothing except that anything is possible. Yeah, unless we're talking about the sweet dripping love of Christ. Wah, 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 wah. It's sad, but I mean, that is really the mindset of be skeptical always, except here. Which is, I mean, if you give me a reason, then okay, but I just lop off the last sentence and I'm with you. Boom Bradley said, I got so high, I started looking for the joint I just smoked because I forgot I smoked it. Gotta run, man. Thanks for the stream. Thank you for being here, brother. You have a good one. Let's dive back in.
You were friends with Trump, right? And you found out about this.
I don't think I would be friends with Trump.
There we go. That's my point. Like, would you still continue to be friends with someone like Trump? And it sounds like no, you wouldn't, right? Because you think it's good enough of a chance that he did it that like, okay, I think this person's morally detestable. I don't want to engage with them. Now, you might not think it should restrict someone.
Correct. All of that is correct. That's why we're not talking about being friends with Trump.
One's rights. You might not think it should do all those other things, right? But it's enough of a probabilistic chance that you're going to like believe it insofar as that you do not want to be friends with that person.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, if I had a friend who was found civilly liable for sexually abusing a woman, I would, unless I knew from somehow personal experience they didn't do it, right? Say that I knew this was a wrong outcome. I think I'd have to reevaluate being friends with them. And I guess it would come down to whether I really believe they did it or not. But I would certainly be very disturbed by it. But I think the problem, Parker, is that people, and I disagree with this because I'm old-fashioned. I think character matters in politics. People decided a long time ago they don't give a shit. The people who support Trump, most of them, if
it's not that we don't give a shit, as I think it was it James who said it? Was there someone better? I didn't see them. I was looking. I didn't see anybody better. And again, I didn't vote for him in 2020. I also didn't see anybody better. But I wasn't confident enough in what he could do for this country. But it was still a process of unlearning the bullshit that made me think that in the first place. Dylan said, why do these people all have the same style choices? I don't know. That's a good question. Because they're a fucking cult. That's why.
A long time ago, they don't give a shit. The people who support Trump, most of them, if they're really being honest, will admit he's a bad person. They don't think he's a good person. They think he will do better for the country.
Yes.
You might strongly disagree with that. I know you do, but so they might too credulous.
And fine. So then that is the grounds on which we should be arguing. Not, oh, he's bad, he's mean, Orange Man bad.
Discount accusations against Trump, all this, but they have essentially decided that things that affect millions of people. Put yourself in the minds, for example, of somebody who's deeply pro-life. I have a more moderate view on it, but who believes hundreds of thousands of babies are being killed every year. And they want a president who they believe is going to put a stop to that. And that president may have sexually assaulted a woman decades ago. Do you see how they could find that calculus worth it if you accept their premise and their framing that they believe, and well, this is true, millions of people are streaming into our country illegally, right? And some of them are committing horrible crimes. That these things.
And I mean, when did this come out? This was from a month ago. And what did we just see? We just saw an Islamic attack. Hey, shout out to Indie Bim. Welcome to the party. Said, or we could be tired of the lies and probabilistic is not a word. Are you sure about that? I'm pretty sure probabilistic is a word. Probabilistic.
Probabilistic.
Based on or adapted to a theory of probability subject to or involving chance variation. Read it and wait, baby. But welcome to the party. Good to see ya. Good to see ya. How much did you say? Believe hundreds of thousands of abortions, over 1 million, dog, every year, every single goddamn year. Yep.
Illegally, right? And some of them are committing horrible crimes. That these things that affect so.
But wait, Americans commit more crimes.
So many millions of people. And obviously it's complicated. They blame the Biden administration for inflation that bankrupted so many families. If they might just not care about, or they might decide it vastly outweighs the short.
I'm going to take a quick side quest because that is also a word, but there are words that are synonyms. So I absolutely hate the word specificity. Why the fuck wouldn't you just say specification? But specificity is in fact a word. I remember being in high school or college English class, and the teacher would always use specificity, like specification. Different words. And then, I just put up that poll about biopic or biopic, and that one threw me for a loop because I always hated biopic. I always used to say biopic. But then someone was like, wait a minute. Bio, yeah, is the prefix. But when you say biography, you don't say biography. You say biography. Biopic. God damn it. James said, probabilistic is the word that knocked me out of the National Spelling Bee. I've even just spelled it wrong now. Come on, man. Come on. That word should be tattooed on your goddamn forehead. That's pretty cool, though. When were you in the National Spelling Bee? That's you have to have seen that Jason Bateman movie, Bad Words, right? You have not. You need to watch that tonight. Yeah, let's grab this one real quick. They're trying to the elite 20 or 30 years ago to create new words to make themselves sound smarter. Specificity, probabilistic, and many others are a result of that corruption. Well, that may be so, and that may be the whatchamacallit, the semantic obfuscation. But once we've reached linguistic creep, it is what it is. Where the hell did everybody go? Why is there only 2 people here? Or is that wrong? The hell?
They might just not care about, or they might decide it vastly outweighs the shortcomings of an individual person. I don't really go there myself, but I don't think that's insane calculus to make.
I do think it's insane calculus because we can go through it. Like again, we're
okay, and that's fine, but that should have been the conversation, not 42 minutes of bad.
talking about like say abortion, right? What is the difference in the amount of abortions that happen after Roe versus Wade was overturned versus Roe versus Wade being in place, right? That would be the distinction in the amount of lives that you're specifically referencing. It's not like going to be the millions. And then in terms of immigration, we just referenced that Trump literally kept this issue going on. But
real quick, everybody just put a 1 in the chat because it says there's only 3 people here right now. Oh. Hey, we got Ruthless Admin. Welcome to the party. I think the numbers are. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe everybody's just done with it. I don't know. Whatever. I'm gonna finish it out. But welcome to the party. All right, now we're back up to 5. I don't know what happened. Everybody said, "Fuck you, Lutch."
then in terms of immigration, we just referenced that Trump literally kept this issue going on by undermining the bipartisan border bill. So that would have specifically helped with the scenario. We can talk about all of these different scenarios. None of the calculus makes sense. Now, if they want to portray it in a way that like, millions of people are dead because of Biden, inflation happened because of Biden, and they want to say all of those things were true, right? Their calculus, that still wouldn't make sense to me because I think that character ultimately matters. But from their perspective, they see it to make sense. And I think that is harmful. I think that is bad. And I don't think that we should look at that as like, oh, this is just like some normal, typical view people have in society. We're talking about fucking terrible things here. We're not talking.
Okay, and that's fine for you to have that position. But then you have to make that argument. You can't just throw ad hominems and be like, well, he did this and he did that, he did that, he did that, he did that. That's not what it is. That's not how we do this. I mean, you could do it whatever you want, but you're not going to convince people who with shit like this.
Talking about like just like some run of the mill normal thing, right? Along with the whole 2020 debacle. Like we can turn the country, like
to turn this back on you because my views lean right on the actual issues, but I'm an independent, so I'm not a loyalist to either party. I didn't support any candidate in 2020 or 2024, and I comment on things and I do my best to call balls and strikes. Say, I think so-and-so is right about this. I think so-and-so is wrong about this. I just disagreed with.
That's what I'm saying. They were okay. Maybe that's what happened. There was a bunch of TSN people here. Maybe they went to go watch something else. They left me. Northbourne was here before though. He dropped a super chat, didn't he? Yeah, he was here before. That's all right. We soldier on.
Balls and strikes. Say, I think so-and-so is right about this. I think so-and-so is wrong about this. I just disagreed with Republicans on the bathroom bills. I'll probably agree with them on something next week because I do lean more right. To me, though, doesn't it tell you, in another sense, how massively Democrats have failed? That they are still losing to somebody who is so deeply flawed, who has so much insane baggage. Like they couldn't even beat. Another way to put it is like, oh my God, people actually voted for Donald Trump. Another way to look at it is, oh my God, you guys couldn't beat Donald Trump.
Oof. If he's that bad, then your position must be that it's not just it's not like there's an IQ break and all the dumb people voted for Trump and all the smart people voted for Kamala. But that's the only framework that works for what you're saying. That me, the 22-year-old kid who was 9 when Obama was in office, I'm making up numbers here, but he's a zoomer, that I know so much better than all of these people. And maybe you do, but you don't just get to assert that. That's just saying things. You have to make the argument.
With all his baggage, all the material to work with. Doesn't that also tell you you're doing something terribly wrong?
So yeah, there's a few things.
Real quick, guys, since I don't know what is going on with the numbers, I'm going to take this opportunity to ask you to share the video. Blast it out wherever you can. Hit the share button. Take the URL. Wherever you can. It does not matter, guys. It doesn't matter if you think anybody's going to click on the link just by you telling YouTube, oh, I want more people to see this. YouTube will show it to more people. It's free. It's easy. It helps out so very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Doesn't that also tell you you're doing something terribly wrong?
So yeah, there's a few things here. Yeah, I do think that the messaging of the Democratic Party is flawed. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, the messaging of the Democratic Party, it's incredible. I've never seen something like it before. I definitely think there are flaws with the messaging of the Democratic Party. But I think the main reason that Kamala lost is because of the inflation, right? People attributing inflation to the president. I think it's wrong. I don't think it makes sense. But the point I'm saying is they think gas prices up, inflation up, president's fault, right? And that happened around the entire world. We saw.
Kind of, but it's so much more than that. It's so much more than that. Like the gaslighting about, no, the economy actually is good. It's just that you're paying more for everything. That has a lot to do with it. The culture war stuff has way more to do with it. But yeah, just everybody's just too stupid, right? That was Biden's line. So
Incumbencies around the entire world, where the presidencies, right, specifically the prime ministers, they were all taken out of office, right, almost all of them, right, because of people attributing inflation to the incumbent president.
Biden
So I think
did
that
make
is the biggest
inflation.
explanation.
Biden did make inflation worse with the American Rescue Plan. I agree, it would have happened anyway. He added several.
Well, then Trump made it
points to
even worse.
I actually agree that Trump
Thank you, Nick. Very, very much appreciated.
printed trillions of dollars out of thin air and signed massive wasteful stimulus spending, and that contributed to inflation. I also agree that
actually, he signed off on more spending, actually, like the 8.4 trillion overall debt-related spending.
That was also, to be clear, though, that was peak pandemic. Biden came in.
Oh, that's why I referenced non-COVID related spending. If you look at the non-COVID related debt spending from Trump's administration, it's more than the COVID and non-COVID related spending that.
Okay, and was spent on what? On things that we liked and appreciated, or Ukraine and Israel?
That Biden signed into law, 4.3 trillion overall for Biden. So yeah, I understand your perspective. Actually, the most fiscally responsible position would be to have voted for Democrats. If you're talking about whether or not it's Democrats or Republicans.
So I'm not. What is this? I don't know what you're referring to, but drop it in the Discord, and that's how it works. Let me know what you guys want to see, and I will cover it. I mean, assuming it works with the channel and stuff, but you know.
Fiscally responsible position would be to have voted for Democrats. If you're talking about whether or not it's Democrats or Republicans winning, I understand your perspective of, obviously libertarians would be more fiscally
the best balanced, but the most closest to a balanced budget we get is when you have a Democratic president and a Republican Congress, and there's gridlock.
Which would have happened if Kamala won, by the way.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
so like
well, there you go. So it was totally wrong to vote for Trump. I mean, checkmate.
But she has such a broad view of executive action, and the Biden administration does as well. They tried to do so many. They weren't really content with the restraints on their power. They tried to do many things via executive action.
Yeah, guys, we've doubled in numbers since we said that
they don't have a constitutional right to do because they couldn't get legislation passed through Congress, like student debt relief, for example. They tried to pass it through Congress, as the Constitution says you have to spend taxpayer money. Congress said no, and they're like, we're going to try to do it anyway via executive authority. They then went all the way to the Supreme Court and lost because you can't do that. That's unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it would make Democrats would have a better argument about Trump and norms and him being such a unique aberration
if they weren't horrible, terrible people in their own right.
If they were more committed to norms and systems themselves. I mean, major leaders in the Democratic Party want to pack the Supreme Court, a move dictators do, add more justices because they don't like its rulings.
Yep.
I mean, you have most of the biggest people in the Senate on the Democratic side support that. Biden and Harris.
I actually have a response to that. I have a response to that. So in terms of this, the Republicans at the end of Obama's administration said that he was a lame duck president, that he shouldn't be able to appoint new and nominate new judges. Right. That goes against.
Trump did that
and then Trump did that. Right. So they went against the precedents.
Yes.
So the only thing that specifically, right, they'd be going against if they added more judges is precedents that exist. Right. So if we're saying it's okay for Republicans to do it, then you'd have to say it's okay for Democrats to do it. But since you're arguing both of them, it's wrong for them to do it. That's a completely consistent view from your point.
Well, I don't necessarily remember all the details about Merrick Garland, but and again, this was my never Trump days. So what I remember from that situation was that Mitch McConnell and them. They were really they were pushing hard to block the hearing, and I was in favor of him getting a hearing at the time, not knowing. I mean, MSNBC told me that he was good. So, but even looking back, I don't think that there was anything done out of we're talking about the norms. I think it was within normal politicking that they were able to block the hearing. Now, if you want to say that it should have been blocked for Amy Bear Cohen, whatever her name is, if you want to say it should have been blocked for her, I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with that. But the fact that it was blocked doesn't mean everything has to be exactly the same. And replacing a judge is already a thing. Adding new judges is setting a precedent. Doing a thing in a slightly different way, that doesn't meet the threshold of setting precedent. Thanks, King. I'll check that out after.
To do it, but since you're arguing both of them, it's wrong for them to do it. That's a completely consistent view from your point.
Yeah, I mean, I said at the time that one, I thought Merrick Garland should have got a vote. They screwed Obama unfairly, and two, though I was like, I think freshman in college when that happened, so I wasn't really doing commentary yet. And two, they're total hypocrites for pushing through it. Amy Coney Barrett in the final year of Trump's presidency.
But again, fair, it is hypocritical because hey, we don't want you to do that, but we want to do it for us. But that's politics. That's the whole game.
But I mean, they're all politicians. None of them give a shit about precedents. Democrats got rid of the judicial filibuster, which for federal appointees, for federal judges, and then that paved the way for Republicans to get rid of it for Supreme Court nominees. And that's how they got Gorsuch and Kavanaugh and ACB on. When if they'd still had the judicial filibuster, they would have had to put more moderate nominees. It's like, I don't really buy that any of these people in DC on either side give a shit about norms or precedent. I do. The reason I think court packing is uniquely pernicious is not because it just defies precedent, but it's because it would end the Supreme. I think, first of all, I think our Supreme Court, by and large, has done a very good job. This current court. I'm sure you disagree with many of its decisions. I agree with more than I disagree. I disagree with a few.
I mean, I don't necessarily keep up on every decision that they're making, but especially when it comes to Roe v. Wade, I wish that Roe v. Wade would have had the standing to stay in place because I think that's the best compromise on abortion that we're ever going to get. I think now that there's going to be a lot more children that are aborted later in the process because we now have either no abortion or full abortion. But it was the correct legal decision to throw it back to the states.
But I think it's a legitimate institution that is not ultimately political. They've ruled against Trump and Republicans many times, including on 2020 election. And what would happen is if Democrats did do court packing and they added 3 liberal justices to skew it in their favor, when Republicans came back in power, they would add 3 more. And it would start the destructive effect. And before you know it, we wouldn't have a Supreme Court with any legitimacy at all. We'd lose one of the branches of our government. So I just have a much harder time accepting Democrats as the party that's going to put the sane people in charge or go back to respecting norms when half the Democratic Party wants to blow the system up in ways that are similar to, if not as bad as, the way that Trump wants to blow the system up.
Not to mention that they don't actually care about the norms. Just like Parker was saying earlier, in terms of the rights and stuff, he wants those applied unequally. He wants the people who are more in line with him to have a better experience, and the people who don't align with him a different experience. So, I don't understand what your position
to
really
respecting norms when half the Democratic Party wants to blow the system up in ways that are similar to, if not as bad as, the way that Trump wants to blow the system up.
That's what I meant. They absolutely respect norms, just very, very different norms, like the gender spectrum. They want that to be a norm, and it's not. And it's fine if you want to be non-binary, whatever. But again, the desire to remold society is the issue.
So I don't think that's like the similar or as bad as how Trump wants to build the system, because we talk about like 2020, him literally like denying the results of the election, getting tens of millions of people to believe that, and then sending false slates of electors to Electoral College to cast Trump votes when he didn't win. Like all of those things are like way well beyond us just
Destroying
talking
the
about
Supreme
like
Court as we know it.
I don't
Pretty
think that
bad.
necessarily.
I was gonna say, yeah, just destroy an entire branch of government. That's not as bad as being wrong and a little too arrogant.
Way well beyond us just
Destroying
talking
the Supreme
about like
Court as we know it.
I don't
Pretty
think that
bad.
necessarily. Okay, so I wanted to give you pushback on that. I don't think it destroys the Supreme Court. Now, I do agree with you. It's going to lead to sort of a political aspect of the Supreme Court where it's more politicized than it currently is right now. But that doesn't necessarily destroy the Supreme Court.
I think
And again, I don't see the
events that would.
Well, again, you could say the same thing with the lame duck presidency of them saying the lame duck on the other side. That's destroying precedent. So I don't see how it's uniquely destroying precedents in such a way in which it would allow for that. The only distinction I can see that you could try to make is that there's a difference in how often they could do it. Right, with a lame
King, how long is that video?
duck specifically, right? It's only in the circumstances where you have an
That's
open
just
seat.
about putting a judge on the Supreme Court when there's a vacancy. Expanding the court
that's exactly what I'm saying.
with the explicit aim of hijacking its ideological majority is a different can of worms. It's something fundamentally
Both of them are for ideological majority, right? The lame duck presidency, though getting 3 of them, that was for ideological superiority within the context of the Supreme Court.
Correct. But that was for ideological superiority within the rules that already exist.
That's explicitly what it was. Getting rid of the, like
Yes,
what
but
you said,
it's
the judicial
within
filibuster was also that.
It's within somewhat normal rules of the game. It's flip-flopping on precedent. I agree with
I totally, guys, you know what? I just felt like I wanted to screw with you guys. I watched everything and took notes so that I could seem super cool about knowing exactly what Brad was going to say. It's almost like we both just have common sense. Nick said Trump didn't make people believe it. How corrupt government can be is what made it believable. Absolutely correct, sir.
with you to try to get your guy on the Supreme Court, to actually fundamentally change the institution to serve you and skew it and rewrite the whole rules of it. It's been 9 for hundreds of years. The Constitution doesn't force it to be 9, although it should. I would support an amendment for that. Is fundamentally different than just doing political shenanigans and being a hypocrite to get your choice on the court.
Yeah, but you could say
so let's just say, yeah, absolutely, it was ideological flip-flopping. Are you claiming that that was the precedent set of ideological flip-flopping in 2015 with Merrick Garland? That was where ideological flip-flopping in politics began. That's your argument. Otherwise, it's not a precedent.
Say the changing of the filibuster within the context of the judicial branch. Do you think that specifically led to more conservative judges? Right, that could be also viewed as a specific like hurt to the court that changed the ideological makeup, where otherwise it would have been more moderate.
Wrong to get rid of the judicial filibuster.
And that's where I'm agreeing with you. But like I don't see
Democrats
specifically. Well, I disagree with that. Actually, I disagree with the getting rid of the judicial filibuster. But like
Democrats,
in terms of
Harry Reid did that in I think 2014.
Yeah, but like my point with that is that, again, in terms of this, if we're going to argue that it's really, really bad in terms of like the adding to the judges uniquely worse than all of these other circumstances, well, then we also have to I think argue that it's just as bad on the other side in terms of like the lame duck presidents and other stuff like that. And you can argue
it's not. It's not. One is setting a precedent that would lead to very bad things, and one isn't. So you can both say I don't like either of these things. But to say that they are analogous is just not true.
Argue there's a distinction, but it creates a culture where, again, the Democrats wanted to create more judges. The whole makeup of the lame duck presidency, not lame duck presidency, lame duck judicial branch, like getting the lame duck nominations, right? That specifically added to the cultural push for Democrats to want to add more judges. If that didn't happen, right, then they wouldn't be pushing for this.
Well, they might when you say that, I agree with you that it contributed to the reason. The reason Democrats are so hostile to the Supreme Court is in part because they feel Republicans achieve the majority through unfair or illegitimate means, which has some truth to it. I do acknowledge that. Now, Parker, we are already way over the time I budgeted for this. You and I think we could talk for a lot longer. We're going to go live on TikTok together soon. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate the conversation and the dialogue.
So that's as far as they go. I just let's see. It's a lot of lame ducks, right? So I want to show this as a sneak peek because I definitely want to cover it. I haven't checked out Rattlesnake Jake Rattlesnake's coverage on it. I just saw the actual clip, so I'm gonna go in here and go with the actual clip and just get your guys' perspective on that. And then I'm acting as if you guys can see. But the so we'll just take a little look at it, and then based on how you guys think about that, then we can either cover that on Monday, or I see this Sam Hyde thing that King Ivana was showing. Taco Baco said, I'm sure Kamala has done sketchy or even illegal stuff. Biden for sure has participated in illegal shit in office. But I can give an example. Example after example of Trump's crimes, and MAGA either says the system is rigged or it's actually okay because Trump is based it up. So, and all right, fair. So then, if we're admitting that Kamala's done sketchy or illegal stuff, Biden's for sure, what is the justification for voting for either of them? If it's not okay to say, well, you know, it's actually okay because Trump is going to help the country enough, why is that not okay for you to say for Biden? Let's just for the sake of argument, let's assume that he never dropped out and it would have been Trump and Biden again. And we know for a fact that he committed crimes in office. So that's just the long and short of it. It's just you have to deal with the.
We should use reason because we should use.
All right, let's see exactly what are we dealing with. Are we? I'm gonna try if I can get the actual thing here. Damn, it's on TikTok real easy. Oh wait, did I save it in here? Oh, tell me I saved it in here, bruh. Tell me I saved it in here, bruh. Hold on. Times Square, New Year's Eve. No, come on. I didn't say it. All right, I'm gonna try one more thing. We're gonna try to search X and rage quit. What? Yeah. Really? What the fuck? Oh my god, why is this shit so hard to find, bro? Haha. Okay.
Point, the same way I'd ask someone that thinks
Okay, so this is just a clip of a TikTok debate on the whatever podcasts platform. They had been going for a little while. Parker was there before, but he had to leave. And then Dean was there. He's wearing a blindfold because he was accused of cheating in his last debate, and Googling things on the side and like asking his chat for answers and stuff like that. So again, let's just take a little look at what we got going on here, and we'll see if you guys want to cover the whole thing.
Your normative view. So at this point, the same way I'd ask someone that thinks being gay is wrong, why they think being gay is wrong. The same way I'd ask someone that thinks racism isn't wrong is why do they think that racism is good. I'm asking you to provide one singular reason why promiscuity is wrong.
And I can't wait to do that. I just want to ask you a couple of clarifying questions. That's all I'm asking for.
Here, Dean, hold on. Andrew, if Dean answers the questions, like how long will it, like 3 minutes, 2 minutes? How long?
It's just a few questions so that we can clear up a few.
Okay, do you need 2 minutes? Andrew, how much?
Give me like just a few questions, maybe like 2-3 questions.
Okay, Dean, is that okay? Dean.
And so again, this is Andrew the Crucible, that guy who was debating Dave Smith. He's on the whatever podcast all the time. That guy.
Just a few questions, maybe like 2-3 questions.
Okay, Dean, is that okay? Dean, can you answer just 2 or 3 questions for Andrew?
I failed to see any possible question that would be relevant. What are your questions? I mean, let's see if they're relevant.
For the sake of time, just answer them, and then.
So the first question is, what?
Oh, so also the what it's saying here is come up to debate. 1, if you have whatever podcast criticisms. 2, slut shaming is good. So that's the main framing of what.
What does wrong mean when you're asking me if something is wrong? What does that
I
mean?
already clarified on that. You weren't listening.
Yeah, I know. Clarify again, though, please.
Are you listening? I said it.
I just want to be precise here. What do you mean when you say wrong?
I already said it. I say it again. It's something that you should.
Yeah, say it again, please, so that I understand.
It's something you shouldn't do in a normative sense.
Okay, so you ought not do the thing.
Yes, bro. Holy shit.
Okay, so we ought not do the thing. Now, the second question that I have is when you say ought, are all oughts axiomatic?
All right, Andrew. Fuck you. You're wasting my time.
All right. Andrew, you still there? He left.
I'm still here. I don't. Where'd Dean go?
I think
I just had a couple clarification questions, but he just said "fuck you" and rage quit. I just wanted to clarify a couple things.
Yeah. Well,
what a
if
so that is a little sneak peek into that. King Nirvana said, "Yes, I like it." So I'm surprised that Jake Rattlesnake made a 40-minute video out of that. So I'm gonna check that out. So yeah, like I told you guys, after the holidays, stuff's gonna start picking back up again. We're gonna have more to talk about than just the giant headlines. Getting more into culture stuff and all that good stuff. We are here, guys. We are here. We are picking back up. It was slow for the end of the election and the holidays, but we are picking up on a whole new season 3 of the Indian Jesus. Let's fucking do it. Thank you so very, very much for all of the donations, guys. You really, really came through for me here. And again, I wanted to do one thing where I had one $20 super chat be the goal, so that we could do maybe a couple, 1 or 2 big goals, and then the smaller super chats we could do something. I like that it gives us a reason instead of just, hey, give me money. But you can't do 2 for the goal, so you could do 1 or 5. I'm gonna figure it out. We're gonna work with it. Shout out to once again the sponsor of the stream, sponsor of so many streams, but Master General. Oh, I almost forgot. We on a swell stream. I almost forgot it. Oh man, y'all were about to let me forget. So first I need, what am I looking for? Creator mix rock. I almost forgot. Y'all almost let me forget. All right. So what do we got? 20. What did I say? 25. Let's go. Pay yourself. You're getting slow. Now vote me up. I'm gonna be school forever. You can do it too. Let's get it. 25. Here we go. My socks are super slippery, but right on fuck. And all of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. But that's not it. That is not it. Morty, some peanut butter. I'm gonna cut it, or should I give him a new one? Let's see. Okay, I gotta double check if we have one ready to go, or if I gotta cut one of the old ones. Well, we gonna get. Oh Jesus! Oh God, what do I do? Bam, 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 bam. All right, all right. Whoa, whoa, whoa! What do I see here? What do I see here? Nordic born. Bam, 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 bam. Another $10. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. Here, right. Well, oh, sorry, right here. There you go. And let's get this man his peanut butter. Let's do it. You want some peanut butter? Come on. Where's my shoes? My shoes. Peanut butter, peanut butter, peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly on a baseball bat. The overlord. Who paid themselves? Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Shit, I missed a bunch. Okay. All right. Next said, I'd rather see a gay couple who have a healthy relationship and respect each other over a totally dysfunctional heterosexual couple who are totally toxic to all. Agreed. Oh, we got a fresh one. We got a fresh one. I'm gonna bring it upstairs so we could see it in all its glory. I'm certainly not surprised the majority of people are outright people telling us we're idiots or misinformed for years, even when we ended up being right. Yep. So I want my money back. Excuse me. I almost forgot, but I didn't. There's too much movement. I'm too out of shape for this. This is why we're doing it. All right, let's do this. Let's get this. Okay, go lay down. Hold on, I need to set this up so everybody can see. Hold on. This is the show now. Okay, ready? Sit down. Yeah. Right, don't fall. Give me a high five. There you go. That's for you. Yeah, look at him. Just look at him. We start. Don't eat that. There you go. Let's see. I'm gonna get the chats from over here. All right. Norborn said lower. Oh, come on, screw you. Guamay said 20 on this lazy ass Saturday. There you go. And thank you, Nordic Born, one more time. Very, very, very much appreciated. Look how happy he is, guys. Look how happy he is. Thank you so very, very much. Let's get our phone thing up there. Oh, he's loving it. You guys are awesome. And he'll just do this for the next half hour, and then he'll finish it. But like I was saying, I don't know if you guys saw that short that I put out. It used to be that, he'd get as far as he could get in with his face, and then he would start biting at the bottom and, chew through the plastic and all that stuff, and then get it out that way. But I realized that since we've been starting giving to him, he'll just lick the thing. Can we get us both in the frame? No? Okay, you over me. They like you more. Yeah, he wasn't, chewing out the bottom anymore. I'm like, you definitely want the peanut butter down here. It's not that you don't want it. So why aren't you going for it? I'm like, oh man, I think that's just my little old man getting too old. Like, I'm not biting to that shit. So once he gets down to like about where his paw is here, he can't get his foot. No, you have to stay here. Stay right here. Lay down. No. Oh, we're gonna lose. There we go. Yeah, it would. He knows he's on camera. So instead of just letting him, only get down to here, I started cutting it around And then do I have one of these around here like this? So then I'll just cut it off, cut the top off, and let him get the rest. So guys, you did it. You did it. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much for hanging out with the both of us. We very much appreciate it. And of course, hanging out on a Saturday. You guys could be doing anything. And here you are. So thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much for hanging out with us, guys. We are going to dip out, but I cannot tell you how much we appreciate you. He's a good showman, right? He's a good showman. Better than his daddy. Better than his daddy. Oh, look at that. Look at that. All right, guys. I will leave you on the sight of the Overlord. Thank you again. Once again, I am your host, Lutch. I should have done it this way. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, a.k.a. the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.